What could have possibly been going on with your Capitals, sir, when they drop the puck and immediately there's 3 fights?
That was building for a long time. Well, not a long time. It's been building since Monday. As soon as the lines went out, so I guess I'll just start on Monday. Tom Wilson is like the definition of if he's on your team, you love him, and if he's not, you probably hate him. I mean, hockey's changed obviously a lot recently. Like the enforcer is not really a part of the game anymore, but Tom Wilson is as tough as they come in hockey. He will fight anyone, but he's also an awesome player and plays 20 minutes a night because he's just a great player. But he on Monday, the Rangers they're going to be done in a week. Their season will be over. They're not going to the playoffs. But he hit a guy who was laying on the ground in the head, and then a guy jumped on his back and he threw him off and hit him, and I guess still hit him while he was on the ground. We had gloves on, and it was a little dirty. But I mean, hockey people. It was also a weird thing on social media because people that aren't really hockey watchers look at that and they say it's the most ridiculous thing in the world and it's terrible. Keith Olbermann was saying he should be banned from hockey for the rest of his life. People are saying he should be in jail, and then actual hockey players were like, "Okay, let's go ahead and relax. This is hockey. What it is." Tom Wilson plays in the gray area, lives in the gray area, and that's just what it is. But then the Rangers put out this crazy statement on Tuesday, calling it a horrific act of violence, was their exact statement on their Twitter page. And then the NHL didn't suspend him. They gave him a $5,000 fine. They gave him a max fine, but didn't suspend him. So they were really upset by that. So everyone kind of knew that it was about to come. This would never really happen because you don't play the same team back to back. The NHL is doing the division-only games. So the rivalries are getting extremely heated and just blood is boiling all over the place. So everyone knew going into it there was going to be fights. They didn't put Tom Wilson out in the first line, but the Capitals put out 3 of their tougher guys. Like Nicklas Backstrom is their best player right now because Ovechkin's hurt. He didn't go out in the first line. He's not a fighter. But they put out 3 of their tougher guys, and it was just pretty much known as soon as you saw those 3 guys skate out that they were going to drop the gloves on the opening face. I didn't know it was going to be all 3 of them. So it was just a 6-man brawl to start the game, which was electric. And then less than a minute later, Tom Wilson comes out for his first shift, skates out on the ice, gets the puck immediately, looks up and sees this kid, Brendan Smith, coming for him. And so they have to drop the gloves. Tom Wilson beats the crap out of him immediately. It actually stunk for that kid because he knew somebody had to challenge Tom Wilson because you have to defend your team's honor. And the guy that jumped on his back that he hurt the other day is out for the year. They're calling it they're really exaggerating it because they only had 3 games left and they're not going to make the playoffs, so they're just resting him. But yeah, that guy had Tom Wilson had 20 pounds and 3 inches on him and just destroyed him immediately, which stinks for him. But yeah, and then right after that, there was a minute or so of hockey played, and then there was another face-off where 2 guys dropped the gloves. Lars Eller dropped the gloves, and they got another fight, and then Michael Raffl got another fight. So in the first 5 minutes of the game, there were 3 fights involving 12 players. So it was awesome.
As was the start to this morning's show. Just right in there. I put it out on Twitter.
It was a really eventful night. I mean, it could have gotten much uglier than it did. TJ Oshie, the story for the Capitals now ended up being that TJ Oshie scored a hat trick the day after his dad died. It has been a big story for the Capitals for a long time. His dad was a longtime hockey coach in their hometown, War Road, Minnesota. He was the high school coach there. And he had Alzheimer's, and in 2012 he was losing a lot of his memory and all that stuff. So there was a really, really emotional speech Oshie gave when the Capitals won the Stanley Cup. His dad was in the crowd, and so everybody knows his dad's story, who his dad and his relationship with his dad. And he ended up getting a hat trick last night, which was just huge. But it almost got ugly because he was just playing, and one of the Rangers tried to dropped his gloves and tried to fight Oshie, and Oshie skated off the ice, and everyone was saying that if they messed with Oshie like on that night, the next day, it was going to be really, really bad, and it would have gotten much uglier than it was. But I mean, it was just hockey guys being hockey guys, and the announcers. I ended up changing to the Washington broadcast because I didn't realize I was on the national broadcast at first, but they were like really annoyed by it. They were upset. They're like, "When are we going to start playing hockey? This is ridiculous." And everyone on Twitter and everyone that I saw was just loving every second of eating it up completely. So I think the announcers missed the mark, or maybe not missed the mark. Maybe they just have to say that this is not hockey. This is not what we like. But it was by far what everyone wanted to see.
And just to review, the Rangers put out a statement about how they were ticked off about the violence of another team. And so then 1 second into the game, just mass violence.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. Like, they also fired their GM and president yesterday. James Dolan, who owns the Knicks, also owns the Rangers. And by all accounts, those guys were doing a great job. And there were rumors like, is this, like, who put out this statement? The statement was clearly embarrassing on their part. Like, everyone that read that was like, are you kidding me? It's hockey, calling it a horrific act of violence. And then to go ahead and be like, yeah, we have to match this horrific act of violence with 6 fights in the first 5 minutes. And it was crazy. Seeing the penalty box with 6 guys, there's only room for 3 to sit down, so the other 3 had to stand up in front of them. And it was a hilarious scene. And then at the end of the game, the guy that Wilson hit initially is going to get suspended because he cross-checked a guy in his face, like jumped into his face and cross-checked him in the face and he wouldn't fight earlier. So, I mean, all in all, it was pretty brutal if you're a Rangers fan, because it's like, hey, we're going to defend our honor here tonight. And the Caps easily won 4 of the fights, won 5 of the fights, but 4 of them were pretty hands down, and then ended up just eating their tails in all day long. And one of their players is going to be done for the year. Like, it was a bad night to be a Rangers fan overall.
You mentioned that they got a new GM. That guy is Chris Drury. For old guys like me, you might remember him from the Little League World Series way back in the day with Trumbull, Connecticut. I think was the first U.S. team to win the College World Series, or the Little League World Series, kind of in my lifetime, at least that I remembered. Now he's 44 years old, basically running a hockey team. And after a long and really successful career in the NHL, it just made me feel extra old this morning. Not nearly as dramatic at Founders Park yesterday, but still pretty dramatic. 7-6, the final score. Gamecocks get the win over North Florida. Getting the win, the main thing there. Wes Clark hitting his 17th home run, back in the lead in the SEC. Mag Cotto, the guy on the mound that really helped the Gamecocks get control of the game, and in a game where they sent out Jack Mahoney to start, and Mahoney didn't make it through the first inning. Had some forearm tightness, is what Mark Kingston was saying after the ball game. Going to be reevaluated. Certainly not a great sign for any pitcher, but especially a pretty important guy like Mahoney last night. So the Gamecocks had to make some adjustments. Julian Bosnick comes in and gets his 2nd save of the season, and Carolina holds on a couple of runs in the 7th inning to take the lead after North Florida was up 6-5, and avoid the momentum continuing in the wrong way after the Ole Miss sweep, and end up getting the win last night. So important from that standpoint, from the Gamecock baseball perspective, as Mississippi State is coming to town. Going to be a regular Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. It's been odd this year. Well, maybe not odd, but there's been a lot of Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. I think there's still a couple, or at least maybe one on deck in Tennessee. Usually the last regular season series is like that. There's been several others, but this weekend back to that Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule for Gamecock baseball. That's the latest there. As far as Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves getting back on the winning track and getting a good outing from Max Fried last night against your Nationals, sir. Also another grand slam, an intentional walk to Freddie Freeman. Loaded the bases for a guy who has not looked like last year, which is been a pretty familiar refrain for the Gamecocks overall, especially with a guy like Max Fried being on the mound last night, who certainly hasn't been his near Cy Young winning form until last night, his best outing last night. And then it was Marcell Ozuna hitting the grand slam, second straight game. The Braves had a grand slam. I think they're up to 3 or 4 grand slams already on the season, more than all last year. They've only played half the games, but 5-3 Atlanta win last night. But it was the Baltimore Orioles really making the headlines around Big League Baseball with a no-hitter. John Means was the pitcher, and it was just a wild pitch away from a perfect game yesterday against the Seattle Mariners, 6-0 that final score. Did you follow any of the no-hitter drama? And being a DC guy to begin with, Patrick, anything that the Orioles have to celebrate is a different time in baseball.
Yeah. Did you see the wild pitch?
I did not.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily controversial, but it happened in the third inning, which I do kind of appreciate for his sake, because at that point he wasn't thinking about a no-hitter at all. But there is a little debate as whether it should have been a pass ball, and he actually should have had a perfect game.
No, either way, it's still not a perfect game.
I thought that's what I was watching a video literally 10 minutes ago that they were like, yeah, it should have been a pass ball. Like, what is that? That doesn't change anything in the scoring.
No,
he still gets to run. Like, I actually don't know the rules.
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as a runner gets on base. It's not a perfect game. Does that make sense?
No, I didn't know if that meant that like he wasn't going to be allowed to run. Like, I don't know the rules on when you're actually allowed to run.
Oh, gotcha. No,
on a strike 3 call. Like, if the catcher doesn't catch the ball no matter what, like, you can just run.
Yeah, and then the wild pitch or pass ball is just whose fault was it?
So he's got to wonder. He's going to be blaming his catcher for not having a perfect game.
Right. If it's a pass ball, then it goes down as the catcher's fault. But yeah, that is.
Well, he will never be able to say that. Yeah, he'll never be able to assign that blame. That's a bummer. But yeah, it was impressive. He's been amazing for the Orioles this year. They're definitely better than people thought they would be. They're still in last place in the AL East, but people think their win total was outrageous. I can't remember what it was, but it was like one of the lowest win totals we've ever seen. They had a 0% chance in the ESPN whatever ranking to make the playoffs. So I mean, they were not expected to be good, but he's been really good. It's only his third year in the majors, and really I think only his like second year because he didn't pitch very much in 2018 when he was called up the first time. So he's been the bright spot of the team. It's cool. I'm happy for the Orioles. First no-hitter in like 30 years for that organization. And I grew up an Orioles fan for 12 years before the Nationals came into existence. So I'm happy for them. It's the only Baltimore team I support in any capacity.
So I think first no-hitter in 50 years.
50 years, okay.
Since Jim Palmer back in the day. And the Orioles have played one more game than the Braves, have one more win than the Braves. They're 15-16 overall. The Braves 14-16 overall, except the AL East is kind of the exact opposite of the NL East. That has the Orioles in last place in the AL East, and yet they're just 3 games back of the first place Red Sox. The Yankees, a game and a half back of them. Rays, game and a half back, and the Blue Jays just 15-14, 2 games back. So everybody's really bunched up and pretty good in the AL East. In the NL East, where the Braves are, it's just the Philadelphia Phillies who are 1 game over 500, and then everybody else is a game or 2 under 500, including the Braves, a game and a half back of the Phillies at 14-16. But I think encouraged last night with Max Fried looking good, with Marcell Ozuna looking like the guy he was last year as well. And we'll see what can happen, because it was an ugly weekend with getting swept by the Toronto Blue Jays, but a couple of back-to-back wins has, I think, Braves fans feeling a little bit better. And certainly, anytime the Orioles get to celebrate, any kind of optimism there, it's I feel like it's a good day for baseball overall. I think baseball gets the bad rap. You know, it was the no salary cap and the whole thing, but there have been so many different teams winning World Series in just the last couple of decades, really. It works. For some way, somehow, Major League Baseball works. And there is a lot more parity, I feel like, within the last decade at least, than there might have been before then, where you felt like the Yankees, the Red Sox were just kind of trading off and buying all the good players, and they were going on to dominate.
Well, the Orioles they're not like the Browns, of baseball, right? That's not how they're looked at it, are they? I mean, I've been to multiple Orioles playoff games in my lifetime. Like, they've had some decent teams. They haven't.
Multiple Orioles playoff.
Yeah.
Please hit me up with some years on that one.
I actually can't remember. I mean, the most notable, I remember Jim Johnson completely blowing a save to lose to the Yankees, which was brutal. Let's see. I mean, I was a kid. I mean, it could have been 15 years ago, I guess. But I didn't think they had the reputation of being like the gutter dwellers of baseball.
To me, they have that reputation. Maybe Pittsburgh Pirates you could throw in there. Yeah, recently I'm trying to think of other organizations that I would put up there, but just growing up and having them relatively close proximity. So they went from 97 to 2012 with a 15-year drought. And then, 12, 14, and 16 all make the postseason, even though in 16 it was one game in the wild card. And 2012 also a wild card, one game, and then losing the division series. So
has anyone been terrible for? I mean, I feel like I've never seen a good like Mariners team. When's the last time the Mariners were good?
Right, Ken Griffey Jr. and Randy Johnson back in the day. Yeah, I think the Mariners are right in there with the handful of franchises.
And the Padres have been, I think, one of the worst teams in my lifetime. But now, obviously, they're loaded and as good as they've been in. Probably got to be by far the best team they've had in my lifetime. But yeah, I don't know. I guess just being so close to them, going to games, and like Camden Yards is very well regarded around the league, and they're a pretty historic organization. I didn't think they had that reputation. I thought the last 2 years have been sort of outliers in how just brutally awful they were, but they really just kind of blew the whole thing up.
Speaking of that, that's how we started the show this morning. When you go 1 second in the NHL and Patrick's Washington Capitals drop the gloves with 3 fights in the New York Rangers. Glad to get your hot take on that immediately this morning. We'll continue to discuss that. It's one of the crazier scenes I think we've seen in sports. So that's where my mindset is. A sporting event you've watched or been at where you felt like you're just watching something absolutely wild. Would love to hear any kind of experience that you have with that personally.
Especially going into it, like knowing that people definitely, there were probably a ton of people that bought tickets the day before that game that were just like, all right, I need to be here for this, because we knew. Like, I raced home, went and got tacos and was like, I need to be here by 8 o'clock because it's not going to take long for things to get out of hand.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It lived up to the hype, and the build-up was there, the whole thing. Yeah, sometimes these things just happen randomly, and then sometimes there's a bunch of stuff going in, and even knowing that, still seeing it 1 second into the game last night was something. 803-404-6100. Again, if you would like to weigh in on the show, you can call or text. If you're more of an internet person like Anthony, you can hop on the YouTube live stream, Facebook Live, on Twitter as well. Anthony says, hey, fellas, don't pick on my Pirates, man. We are trash, though. Padres had one of the greatest hitters of all time, Mr. Padre, Tony Gwynn. And no doubt. I'll give you a little personal interaction I had with Tony Gwynn back in the day. One of my favorites for sure. But Anthony just showing why he's one of the favorites on the show right there. Hey,
I think the Steelers have terrible, or the Pirates have terrible ownership, I think, is their reputation.
And not spending the money and just doing the small market kind of deal. Typically, it cycles through. At least you get a run at some point with some good draft picks or development, or maybe you catch a break with a trade. It hasn't worked out.
Or you have like a Garrett Cole and then you don't pay him and then he leaves, or Barry Bonds and then you don't pay him and he leaves. And
So that's where we start this morning. Also want to get into the latest comment from Jimbo Fisher about his former boss, Nick Saban. Always talking SEC football here on the show. Bill Gunter helping to fill in for Heath Klein the next few days. So we will be without Bill. You can catch him on the afternoon show from 4 to 7, filling in for Heath Klein. Thursday, Friday, and Monday is the schedule there. And then Bill will be back with us in regular schedule on Tuesday. So maybe a little bit more room for your gas baggy hot takes this morning. Again, the number 803-404-6100. We saw who was celebrating on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line there. Was that Gamecock Will just wanted to let us know a good morning. The 1983 Orioles won the World Series, Lee says. So better than those other teams. They're not the Cleveland Browns. All right, Lee, we're with you. And he mentioned it was a great day to be a sports fan with the Gamecocks winning yesterday and his Baltimore Orioles throwing up the no-hitter through 9 innings, the first one since 1969. You're listening to the early game here. It's 107.5 again.
It's a new year. They're hungry.
Clear.
Tim, you got a live here?
Wow. Let's see. Ooh,
Tim, I think you got a live here. Oh, no, that's
No,
Slick's number. Yeah, I remember that ESPN's in. I think I heard it. It is a great little area. That little strip of bars with pickles and all that stuff. It's a good setup.
Yep, no bacon this morning, David. Congratulations on making it through, though. Did you see? I think that was yesterday's show, maybe the day before, that David was celebrating.
What was he celebrating?
His fast was over.
What?
Like Easter season.
Oh, that's very committed. I didn't know Easter season didn't end on Easter. Yes, I'm a bad Catholic.
No,
Yes, you spend a little time celebrating, so that keeps the Easter season going. What was given up?
I think he was saying, I forget, it was a bunch. I remember that.
Oh man. Peloton recalling all treadmills after reports of injuries and one death.
Whoa. Well, their thing isn't the treadmill, is it? Their thing's a bike.
Well, I guess they expanded and now they have just running classes. I don't like it just. I guess it just doesn't shut off. Would that be the?
That would be a big problem.
I don't know. I don't know what else could go wrong with a treadmill. I guess you could just put it at setting 1 and it just starts ramping up to full speed. You fall on your face.
That is a terrifying problem.
You ready to jump into it?
Oh. Treadmill, Chris. Treadmill.
Oh my. That's actually not what it was. It was a kid got sucked into one or sucked up underneath of one.
Right.
So they said recall it and don't you immediately stop using if you have small children or pets.
Couldn't that be an inherent issue with any
Right. How is it
treadmill? Yeah.
specific to this one?
How they get sucked into it, because usually it's pretty low, unless theirs are set to be higher off the ground or something.
I don't understand. Are there cicadas down here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They're coming.
Now's the time.
Well, I know they are in Maryland. It's 15 states. From Indiana. What? Do you remember the last time they were here?
No, I didn't know they left.
Well, they're underground for 17 years.
It is quieter without Bill for sure, Dave. Maybe not at this point in the show.
I don't think they are. South Carolina. People are freaking out about it, though. I've heard a lot of people talking about it.
175.
Love to give away some stuff, and that's what we're doing this week. And I love the fact that we're back giving away some concert tickets. Genesis coming up to Charlotte, Spectrum Center, November 20th. Those tickets go on sale tomorrow. And giving them away on the halftime show. We'll continue to do that this week. Continue to listen to that halftime show for Genesis ticket giveaways today and tomorrow. I really like that we're back in that space for sure. Also, would love to give you a $50 IGA gift card and get you with a really good chance to win a grill worth more than $1,000. The Camp Chef Pellet Grill is the grand prize for Grill Bill. You can go sign up on our website, 1075thegame.com. Just check out the contest tab at the top of the page and throw in a few questions that would make Bill a little uncomfortable or have some fun with him. We do it every Monday here and have been doing it for several weeks. Grill Bill is sponsored by the South Carolina Pork Board, its member farmers, IGA Food Stores, Camp Chef. This Grill Bill will be during Heath's show, maybe on this Monday. Will be the last day filling in for Heath. Maybe we can give some suggestions about how to make Bill a little extra uncomfortable for Grill Bill coming up on Monday. This makes me uncomfortable when I read it. And I get it, Patrick. This is a lot like the Spurrier shots that were taken back in the day. His comeback for you can't spell UT with you can't spell citrus without UT and Florida State Free Shoes Universities. Like, oh, those were just some corny jokes. I was talking to Gator fans, and that's what that is. And we all understand it's this time of year. I don't think Shane Beamer has started his circuit yet with the Gamecock Club meetings. I think that might kick off here in the next several weeks. But it's about this time of year, right? It's the off season now that spring football is in the books. Now that a lot of the work is done, and May especially, I know for Gamecock football, is maybe the month off. And then it will be right back to it, maybe unlike it's ever been, with official visits restarting in June, with guys being able to be worked out by coaches really for the first time when they're on some of these visits and the whole deal camps cranking back up. It's going to be, man, it's going to be quite the sped up time, sped up calendar, and everybody's going to be going at it. So I don't know if Shane Beamer will be quite on the old calendars of going to Gamecock Club meetings and the whole thing. But Texas A&M coach Jim Bofischer just speaking at a Houston Touchdown Club yesterday. And did you see some of these comments, sir, that came out of it?
No, I didn't. I purposely didn't look because I was hoping for a legit reaction.
So not only did Jimbo Fisher say, I guess he was probably asked by someone, do you think you're going to beat Nick Saban while he's still at Alabama, knowing that he's about to turn 70 and we're going to beat his butt while he's still there. Don't worry, was the response in the more radio-friendly way, Jimbo Fisher. But also, he is encouraged by the fact that his team is talking about competing with Alabama and the whole thing. We can do it just as good or be just as good or better, and we will, is the exact quote about his program compared to Alabama. Now, I get it. The Texas A&M expectation, they paid him $7 million a year. Jimbo Fisher's already won a national championship. Last year, they had a really good year. They gave him a national championship trophy and left the year blank. I understand the expectation. Texas A&M has long had national championship expectations and put those resources into their program. They've just never had it on the other end. I mean, not in any of our lifetimes, I don't think, where the team and the program has been able to follow it up with production on the field, national championship production. Now, maybe because Jimbo Fisher has done this, that he gets a little bit more leeway or feels a little bit more comfortable talking about it than others. But to ever compare your program right now to what Alabama is, that no matter where it is or who it is, that to me seems to be just setting yourself up for massive failure. And knowing what Texas A&M is and what they expect and the whole thing, I guess I should say a little surprised, but knowing Jimbo Fisher and how he talks, maybe I'm not surprised is not the right word. I just think that is the wrong approach to take and only going to create more problems than it would do you any good at this point, especially. To me, this is a situation where you got to do it and then you can talk about it, not the other way around. And the last thing you want is Alabama to have any kind of extra motivation going up against your team or any kind of I don't even know what the way to put it is.
Well, you just don't want something that's going to be
they're being challenged.
Yeah, you don't want something that's going to be. I just wouldn't want something that's going to be screenshotted and get 10,000 retweets when Alabama beats you 56-10. Like that's just not what you want to do. Was there media here or is there video of this? Like, did you think that it was a meeting with just like boosters or whatever, and it was going to be kind of private, or did he know?
Yeah, that's my guess. Again, it was the Houston Touchdown Club, and the Houston Chronicle obtained some audio, so that makes me think that, it was one of those things where there weren't cameras necessarily rolling or anything like that. But that's the thing, in the 21st century especially, and this is how it's always been in big-time college football especially. If you say something, it's going to get out, man. There is no, hey, we're going to keep this in the room kind of thing. At least I don't think there's been anything like that in 20 years. So that's not an excuse at all. I mean, if you're that naive, then I think there are bigger problems. I think Jimbo Fisher understands that if he's talking about it publicly, it's going to get out in some form or fashion. I understand. And Todd, the resident Alabama fan, of course, right in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Jimbo, poor old Jimbo, you're going to have it come for you this fall. Now, then he said, roll Todd. Surely he didn't mean that.
He might have meant that.
He might have. The last thing you want is an extra motivated Alabama.
Saban still hasn't lost to an assistant, right?
One more time.
Saban still has not lost to one of his assistants, right?
Correct. That is still there. And I forget what the number's up to now. It's got to be up to close to 25 now as far as head coaches.
I'm seeing
It's like Sonny says.
23 now, it looks like.
Yeah, 23. Sonny says, I am confident that the Gamecocks will be the Alabama of the East in 5 years. You ever just get one of those feelings and it's a really confident feeling? Yeah, I got that feeling. Sonny, it's good to be confident. It's good to be optimistic. But this run by Alabama, we've never seen it in college football. And I don't know if we're ever going to see it again. Like Nick Saban and college football, what he's done at Alabama. So to me, this was the kind of the perfect meeting of two forces: the Alabama and perennial success, and where they were when he came in and took over that program. Let's not forget what they lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year. I mean, this was not a program that was just rolling people and set up for a bunch of success. This was a program that was embarrassed. And you had Nick Saban embarrassed, I think, after Miami Dolphins experiment did not go well. And clearly, he's not an NFL guy. It's one of the reasons why I am far from convinced that Urban Meyer is going to work out in Jacksonville and see Steve Spurrier and a bunch of other college names through the years, Pete Carroll being a big-time exception. But when he came to Alabama and what he's been able to do, because we've seen all of his assistants try. Kirby Smart's really, to me, the only guy in the SEC that's been able to replicate anywhere close to the success. And let's not get it wrong. Georgia is nowhere close to what Alabama has been. But Patrick, especially you being an NFL draft guy, just seeing the numbers of guys consistently cranked out of that program. What is it, like 38 first-round picks since 2010, which is more than Texas A&M has had draft picks total. I think Texas A&M's at 36 draft picks total since 2010. The Gamecocks are at 35, which are pretty decent numbers for programs compared to other college football programs across the country. But then there's Alabama, completely separate than everybody else. I am always of the mindset, you keep your mouth shut until you do it, and then you can talk, not the other way around.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Alabama's also, they're now going to just roll in the number one quarterback in the country from last year, and they just picked up the highest rated recruiting class in the history of recruiting rankings. Like, it's not going to end at any point. And he's definitely going to get asked about this. I don't know when his next media availability is, Jimbo Fisher's, but I mean, do you expect him to walk this back to any extent? I kind of think that he's going to, because he's going to see this and he's just going to be like, oh, I was just trying to instill some confidence in my team or my program or whatever. Like, we're always going to be confident, but I mean, you just have to know, like, you worked for the man. You've been in this conference for how many years now? 4 or 5? I don't even know.
That's a good question.
But you know the SEC and you know the Nick Saban people. Is he in that group message with Muschamp and Kirby, or is it just those two and Kiffin? I don't even know.
I would think he's probably in there.
Like, you should just know better. If there's anyone that should know better, it's somebody that coached under him.
Dan in Somerton says Jimbo is a Dumbo.
Yeah.
Another anonymous texter sends us a text or a tweet from the Unnecessary Roughness account. And this stat is ridiculous. Nick Saban, 16 more first-round draft picks than losses at Alabama. He's had 16 more guys drafted in the first round. Remember, South Carolina's grand total, which is not an embarrassing total by any stretch of the imagination. The Gamecocks have had some really good football players come through, and obviously tons of NFL success. 15 first-round draft picks in school history. Nick Saban had 16 more first-round draft picks than losses at Alabama. Mind-blowing. So you want to poke that bear, you go right ahead. Good luck with that. Now, you said it's never coming to an end, Patrick. It's going to come to an end. Nick Saban is going to turn 70 here soon. The question is, I would put 5 more years on it, kind of max. It will come.
Max?
The question is, can Alabama set it up to have the next guy come in and have anywhere close to the success of keeping this thing going? I think they got a better chance there than a lot of other programs had historically, but we've seen, I think Jimbo's last stop is a great example of, you might be able to do it for a couple of years. And Jimbo Fisher was able to win the national championship at Florida State after Bobby Bowden and get that program back to kind of where it was used to for a very brief period. And now we've seen a total just implosion at Florida State in the last several years.
Why do you think 5 years max? I mean, he doesn't look 70. He looks very healthy and spry, and football's probably all he knows. the Ricky Bobby quote, with my high level income and the advancements in modern science, there's no reason to think I can't live to be 250, 300. Nick Saban might coach till he's 85 years old.
I'll put my money on the Father Time over your Ricky Bobby time, sir. I just at the level it is, and just time, man. I think I'm giving him probably more credit than a lot of people. Steve Spurrier's still the only SEC head football coach at the age of 70. That's just facts. So I'll go with history and then time on my side there. But you're right, with the way that it's set up now, it doesn't appear that it will ever end. And this NFL draft was a great example of that, or a great reminder of that, where Alabama ties the Miami record of 6 first-round draft picks, most ever.
Yeah, I mean, he's working very hard because he's getting new assistants every year because they keep getting head coaching jobs, but maybe he'll be able to just find a great assistant that will want to stick around because he'll just see, like, all right, this thing's wrapping up. I would like to be the coach in waiting, and that'll make his job a lot easier. Like, there's no reason he can't get it to the point where he doesn't have to be – maybe he only knows one way, and it's being super hands-on and involved in every level of the program, but maybe he just gets older and he's like, this thing's working right now. I can take a little less time off. Like, I don't know. I mean, Belichick's the same. They're the same person, basically, just different temperaments. And, like, he's got Josh McDaniels, and Josh McDaniels has been sitting there for a decade just waiting for Belichick to hang it up so he can be the next head coach and take it over from there. But I don't know. Maybe maybe he'll just be a little more hands-off and keep it rolling. I wouldn't put it past him to go past 75 if he just keeps winning championships and just keeps distancing himself from everyone else. Legacy at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He won't let himself become bad. He won't start coaching bad teams.
Yeah, I don't see him being able to stand that. I'm with you on that, but I also haven't seen the coaching waiting thing work out real well, hardly anywhere. We'll continue to discuss. Texas A&M strong comments about Alabama at a recent Houston Touchdown Club meeting is where that's coming off of. Get back into a little game of baseball. Obviously, a big weekend there, and Patrick's Washington Capitals. Interesting night on the ice, all on the docket today. Glad you're a part of the program. 803-404-6100, the number if you'd like to call or text. It's the early game here on 107.5. Patrick, you want to guess? The question was, I just looked it up. How many first-round picks have been since 2010?
Is this every year of the draft existing?
2010.
What is that
Talking about?
And then,
You're looking at Travis's deal there?
yeah.
Who's the only SEC team to have a player drafted every year? Okay, great.
In every single draft, though? That's pretty impressive. There's not been a single year off.
Per the SEC Twitter, he says. Just one guy drafted? I guess that's...
But there have been how many drafts?
a bunch. You want to guess how many first-round draft picks the Gamecocks have had since 2010?
Since 2010.
Well, Alabama's had 38.
5? 4?
Six is the answer, I believe. J.C. Horn was 6. Javon Kinlaw, Hayden Hurst.
Ingram and Gilmore and Clowney.
Yep, I think that's it. Yep. And Jonathan Joseph was a first-round pick in 7. So they went 5, 6, and 7 with a first-round pick, right?
What year was Troy Williamson?
4, 5, and 6. Troy Williamson was 2005, and Dante Robinson was 2004. That was 3, and then it was John Abraham back in 2000 before then. Then you got to go back to 93. Ernest Dye, offensive lineman, the only offensive lineman from South Carolina taken in the first round. Then Sterling Sharp in 88. And George Rogers, 81. Rick Sanford in 79 is when it started.
Did people think Troy Williamson was going to be a first-round pick at all? Or just because he was fast?
What's that?
Did people think Troy Williamson was going to be a first-round pick?
Possibly. He was a pretty good player. But, yeah, I don't think anybody saw number 7 overall. And then, man, that was a bummer how that worked out.
Who is the fastest Gamecock you can remember ever?
It's got to be.
It's him. Because did you see what DK Metcalf is doing on Sunday?
Yeah. Is he running or in a track event or something?
Yeah, he's running in, like, it's the thing that qualifies you for the Olympic trials.
Yeah, Damiere Byrd was a track guy too. You got to put him, I guess, in the conversation. There have been some other track guys that have played football a little bit through the years. I'm trying to think of some other names. Done some returning stuff.
Because,
So
I mean,
those guys.
like DK had that. The Buda Baker chase down was one of the plays that you watched that and you're just like, oh my gosh, he is a different level of fast.
Yep.
And like you see it sometimes. Like we know Anthony Schwartz is the fastest player in football because like he's been timed that and he would have been in the Olympics if he pursued that. But he's not a good enough football player that you ever saw it flashed like that.
Yep.
I was like Troy Williamson I never saw him play, so I don't know if he was just track fast or it was like you watch him play every game and you're like, oh my goodness, is that kid fast?
Yeah, I would say it was more of that. He was really, really good.
Like the Henry Ruggs play in Williams-Brice Stadium where he caught the ball and there were 4 people in front of him and he just ran past everyone that had momentum. You watch that play and you're like, what in the world did I just watch? That dude is a different type of fast. I don't really remember any particular South Carolina player since I've been here in the last 6 years that I've been like, wow, he has got different type of juice.
All right, we're about to head back in.
Hey, just a heads up, that hot take hotline always there for you 24/7. The number is 803-978-6654. If you ever just need to vent, hit us up hot take hotline and we'll play it on a show back if it's suitable for air. That hot take hotline sponsored by Twin Peaks for the men who never settle. Go see them down in the Vista at 600 Gervais Street. Patrick just brought up an interesting question in the video stream during the break. The fastest South Carolina football player that I can remember. I said that's probably Troy Williamson. Then I had to say, oh, Damiere Byrd was really fast. There's not a moment necessarily. I got to throw, I know it's not like straight line speed, Patrick, what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
John Abraham played the fastest I've ever seen anybody play on the field, being a defensive end, making plays on the opposite side of the defensive line so many times on some defenses that weren't necessarily great, some teams that weren't necessarily great, but that is an example of a guy who looked like he was playing at a different speed.
Explosion rather than sprint speed, I guess.
Explosion and speed, but doing it so quickly.
Yeah.
In just such a short period of time, but making other guys look like they're at a different level. And obviously, Jadeveon Clowney, we probably should throw in there as well. Interested in hearing some of your names. Hour number 2, coming up here on the early. Yeah, the one Travis is talking about here's, I think it's a 98-yard touchdown. It was the camera guy and Williamson just kind of running right at me, but it's one of those things where, right, it's just straight down the field. It's not necessarily jaw dropping.
I'm pulling it up. On,
It was a wow moment for sure, but
I mean, he split two guys.
right, and he just takes off. Ace Sanders is definitely in the conversation, but it's more quickness, I think, than speed.
Yeah, I mean, that play you can definitely tell.
What's that? You watching it?
I'm watching the Troy Williamson play. I think when they do in the screen, you can tell he's fast.
Yeah, CJ Spiller was that guy for Clemson for me. Who else? Jacoby Ford, I think, was probably the guy with the actual track speed for that. Aries Curry, I think, ran some track before then.
Sammy Watkins was really fast.
Sammy Watkins was dang fast. But he was more football fast than some of these guys, right? Like
and he was not. He wasn't like a tiny little
right.
Jitter either. He's big. He's more like along the DK mold, but I mean DK's just shredded like nobody I've ever seen before.
Superhuman.
Trenton, yeah. I do remember there was the LSU Florida game a long time ago where it was Trenton Holiday and Will Demps, and they were like, yeah, these are the two fastest players in the country right now, and they're playing against each other. Yeah. I think Trenton Holiday had a track career. I don't know if he made the Olympics or not, but I thought he took time off after college and pursued track even more.
It was spelled Trendon. It is with the eye. Wow. Let's just Google him, see what he's up to.
He did end up playing for the Broncos. He might have a Super Bowl ring with the Broncos.
5'5", one of the shortest players in NFL history. Oh yeah, he's got the personal records on there. 10 flat, 100 meters. 21.3, 200 meters. That's so ridiculous. 6.5, 60 meters.
No Super Bowl ring.
What's that?
No Super Bowl ring. So, okay. 5'5", 166, one of the smallest players in NFL history. Devontae Smith is 8 inches taller than him and weighs the same. That's insane how skinny he is.
Me, what was insane was how he was dominating that national championship game.
Also wild how his thumb or his finger, whatever finger it was, has been nagging. It's like still apparently a bit of an issue.
Oh yeah,
because that's why he wasn't gonna catch passes at pro day. He said, and then Mac Jones convinced him to. That was a long time to heal a finger.
That's not a great sign, for sure. Out of bounds stakes for legs. It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy how skinny he is. And he's probably he probably can't add weight.
Right.
Or else he would have.
12,000 calorie diet.
Yeah.
20,000, who knows? Guys are just built like that.
Just a ridiculous metabolism, and there's nothing he can do about it.
Just like you, Patrick.
Decent problem to have, honestly. I'm drinking tea right now, and I don't like it as much as coffee.
Why are you drinking it then?
Lower caffeine, because I have a coffee here for the end of the show when I start getting more tired. Because I didn't sleep very much yesterday because I wanted to get up and get to the taco shop. We ended up going to a new taco place. It was unreal. Have you had birria tacos?
I'm sorry?
Birria tacos, like Birria.
Never heard of them.
They are. I don't know what they do to them. I'm about to look it up, but they're like sort of like greasier, I guess. I don't know what they cook. They braise it into they braise the meat inside a tortilla that's been pan fried in the fat that sits atop the grill. So they're like,
Wow.
they're unreal. They are so good. So I wanted to make sure we got there early. Every Mexican place we drove by was packed to the gills.
Yep.
So,
It's
I
the
wanted to tell the bill.
in the parking lot outside of the Salsaritas in Lexington, they actually had like a little street party type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, so a bunch of parking spaces were taken, whatever. And it was an interesting mix of music as I was kind of driving through there. There was NSYNC, there was Spice Girls. And I'm like, well, this is not at all what I would have expected for Cinco de Mayo, but okay, it was working.
There was a Coco's and Beer was on Fort Jackson Boulevard, and they had a mechanical bull outside and a moon bounce. Looked like a great time.
That'd be fun.
advantages of having little kids is eating early. So we got to our local Mexican restaurant about 4:45, I think.
That's
No
a
problem.
good time, though.
Yeah, when we left, it was line out the door.
Since everything with COVID, we've gotten to the point where that's just kind of what we prefer now. Just go early.
Yeah.
Even now where things are opening up, it's still okay with kind of not being in the most crowded time, and that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, because it was clearly a rush. We probably made it by 5:40 or something like that, but we still had to wait forever to get in and out. But we avoided a place that you would have to get served. It was more of like you go in a line type deal because they're actually making progress. I did not want to stand outside waiting for service for 40 minutes or whatever it would be. Tacos Nayarit on First World Road. So good.
Huh.
People probably know about it. I googled the the Yelp reviews or the highest starred places in Colombia.
All right, so I just put in 2 breaks.
Okay. I
0
see
red,
it.
7
Zero
10.
rest. Gotcha.
And you still have a caller.
Scott, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll get him soon here.
What does it mean? You called it in, waited 30 minutes to get it, and then also did a drive-through in addition to that?
No, then went to get it, was in line for 30 more minutes.
Yeah. I guess right.
Rolling. Hour number 2. Hope your morning is off to a good start here. We're just going through some Cinco de Mayo post-game. Got some tacos last night, as did Patrick. It looks like Craig was on board. Chris says, everybody was eating tacos yesterday, and I eat meatloaf. LOL. Bill, best time to get Mexican food today, May the 6th. Good call.
Probably.
If you're just joining us this morning, we started off, I think, probably with the quickest show. And by quickest, I mean it was good morning and right into a hot take about what was going on the ice last night, because on the ice last night, it was drop the puck, drop the gloves. And 3 fights between Patrick's Capitals and the New York Rangers. And you broke it down for us as we started the show. I think it's the best place to start as we start hour number 2, even though knowing we got into an SEC football discussion with Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M and Alabama right now, and we'll get right back into that thing. But as you're dinging over there, clearly you're a popular man, Patrick. Give us your perspective.
Everyone's talking about it.
of what went down last night on the ice. If you haven't seen it, by the way, I've retweeted it at SimHill1075. I mean, it is like even in a movie, if that happened, it would be like, oh, this is silly. This doesn't happen in real life. What's going on here? As soon as they drop the puck to start a game, then there's all kind of fights all over the place. That's a little ridiculous, don't you think, Hollywood? Can't we do a little bit better from realism? But that's exactly what happened in real life last night.
Well, that's not what I was expecting. I was really just expecting the game to go on as normal, and whenever Tom Wilson came out there, they were going to find a time, and they were going to drop the gloves, and Tom Wilson was going to have to fight, and that was going to be that. And no, throwing the three lines, I don't know how this gets planned. This is where I'm so intrigued. Every once in a while, you get like a nice mic'd up video, and you can see the guys planning the fight. And usually, there's not a ton of animosity. They'll just be like, "Hey, you want to go? We got to go. Let's go. Like next face off, we're going to drop them. Let's go." And it's cool how it's planned. But I mean, this was obviously planned because we put fighters out there to start. And yeah, it's all stemming from a hit on Monday night. Tom Wilson playing the Rangers 2 games in a row. He hit the guy in the head. There was a fight. It was all at the net. So like he was defending his goalie because he felt like guys were hitting his goalie after the play had been blown dead. So he hits a guy on the ground. Somebody jumps on his back. Artemi Panarin, one of the best players on the Rangers, if not the best, flips him over, punches him some more, and that guy's hurt now. And it was a whole thing. The Rangers called it a horrific act of violence, and only way to fight a horrific act of violence is with more horrific acts of violence. So I mean, it was just immediate. Like everyone, I would have loved, and I don't know if it exists, but just full mic'd up of that game, or at least like boom mics, I could hear what was being discussed on the ice because it was so immediate and just fights all over the place. The poor Rangers, the biggest loser in all of this was Brendan Smith for the Rangers, who's a defenseman, relatively tough guy, but like not to Tom Wilson's level. Tom Wilson is a rare breed. I mean, he's a true alpha on the ice every single night, but he's also a good player. So just nobody wants to mess with him. And the guy,
Patrick's a big Capitals guy, and that's who Tom Wilson plays for. Rich earlier hit us on the Cool Care Eating in Air text line. Tom Wilson's nothing but a punk. He might have added a few more words that we'll not say on the radio. Danny just hit us up and says Wilson needs to be kicked out of the league.
Danny, you're soft. I mean, that's a soft take, but whatever.
So the main difference here is that I know it used to be that way. I think you said it's not really that way in the league anymore, that everybody had an enforcer, right?
Yeah.
Do you still feel like the NHL is run like that or no?
No, it's not. I mean, it's now you need your skaters to actually be hockey players, so there's not really a spot on the roster. And the game is so like there's just too many good players in the ice. You can't have a fighter just skating around. Normally, it would have been like there's a guy in close vicinity to Wayne Gretzky. In case anybody does anything to Wayne Gretzky, he's immediately going to have to drop the gloves and fight the enforcer. I mean, that doesn't happen much anymore because you just can't afford to not have a skilled player out there. And I mean, the Caps, like for example, I mean, Ovechkin doesn't need to be protected. He's 240 pounds and knocks guys out anyway, so it's not an issue. But Wilson is just a different breed because he actually plays 20 minutes a night because he's a productive player and scores 20 goals a year. And he's actually very good. So he's not necessarily the same deal, but he plays with that ridiculous amount of physicality. There are enforcers in the league. Like Ryan Reeves is probably the toughest guy in hockey right now, but most games he doesn't even play, or he'll get out there for a minute and skate around a little bit and rough people up and throw a couple guys on the board. That's not where the game is anymore. So it is kind of rare. And Wilson plays in the Grey. He's very physical. He's gotten suspended a bunch of times, and as Caps fans, we usually just say, I mean, the last one he got suspended for 7 games for a boarding call. That was a pretty run-of-the-mill hit, and almost everyone disagreed with it and said, yeah, this was a reputation thing. They suspended him because of his reputation. I was surprised that he didn't get suspended. I know the national guys that were calling the game yesterday were saying none of this would be happening if Tom Wilson just got a 1-game suspension. They were just super disappointed that there were fights, and everyone at home was watching on the edge of their seats wondering if this is going to be the next fight. Like, you never knew when the next fight was going to start, and it was outstanding. Tom Wilson ended up getting taken. They called it an upper body injury, but I'm pretty sure they just pulled him from the game because it was really not a safe environment for him or anyone else because, I mean, he was just a skating target like the entire time. Everyone was trying to take his head off before the play or during the play. But, I mean, it was awesome. And that's why I love hockey. It's just you settle things with your fists in hockey, which is amazing. Like football, you just kind of have to put your head down and go play the next play and just try and not let it distract you. But hockey, you just get it all out. Like if there is a beef, you just drop the
gloves and fight it.
It's pretty amazing. That's why the kicked out of the league. Like that's just a ridiculous take. If that was football, like it seems rare for football fans because if you throw a punch, you're immediately ejected from the game and you're probably going to be suspended because fighting is not a part of the game. So when you talk about a sport that fighting is like a very crucial part of it, then I just don't know what to do with that. Like it's totally different. You can't compare it to anything else.
Yeah, that is one of the ways. That is the way that hockey kind of separates itself, I think, from other sports. My question is, it's not part of international hockey, correct? Like you fighting, at least.
No, I don't think so.
So do you ever see the NHL getting to that point? It's like you mentioned, it's gotten more to that point. Is it ever going to evolve to that? Or because we're talking about the NHL today in Columbia, South Carolina, which never happens, very rarely happens. And because of they dropped the puck and you got 3 fights last night, I definitely feel like it's still that NASCAR massive wreck, mass appeal to just our back of our brains where we were not developed or, we're all have that human instinct to kind of be drawn to stuff like that the NHL is going to continue to latch onto that because they understand that. And they're not in a position of power to where they could say, hey, we're going to move this out of the game and not worry about the people who will kind of leave with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna not die easy for sure because the players. I mean, it's something they grew up, and it's a part of what they love, and you idolize players like that growing up. So I don't think it's gonna ever fully go away. It's definitely less and less a part of things, and I know there's lots of writers that say this needs to just be eliminated from the sport altogether.
But it's useful. It's controlled aggression. Like if you have a problem, and hockey players, like there is a lot of there's a lot of respect between guys when you get in a fight. Like normally, if there's a problem, you fight and then you go skate the penalty box and it's over. Like you settled it. It's fine. We move on. And it usually doesn't spill over in a big way. Like this was left over from the last game. So it was going to happen because you needed to settle a score from the last game. But I mean, the season's about to end. It's not going to spill in next season. I mean, maybe there'll be a little bit of a rivalry because Tom Wilson does elicit that emotion from people, but it's not going to be completely eliminated from the sport. It's too physical and it's too much a part of the game. The bigger issue and why people are upset that he didn't get suspended, the NHL's perspective, they're far more worried about dangerous hits like on the boards, like hitting a guy. There's rules about when you can engage someone. And if you hit someone too far from the boards and they fall forward and hit their head on the boards, that's the most dangerous thing that happens in hockey. Rarely do you see guys getting hurt from a fight. Like they'll have bruised knuckles and things like that, but you're mostly hitting people's helmets. And yeah, you'll get a black eye, you'll cut your mouth, and you'll have a bloody face and things like that. But I mean, that's not even more dangerous than getting hit in the face with a puck. So I mean, there's far more dangerous parts of hockey than just the fights. And people, if they don't like the violence, a lot of people just don't like the violence, but that's also a major draw for a lot of people. You want to see a fight. Nothing ignites a crowd when you see two guys drop the gloves and start circling each other, getting ready to try and grab the jerseys and get after it. Like it's incredible to watch.
You see 6 of them do it in the first second of the game, like last night. Jen, you had a couple of reactions, I think, during that.
I just don't even know where to begin. Well, you just come out with, bloody face or something like that. It's like, oh, that's that's what I'm all about. Mm-hmm.
Well, but like a helmet to helmet, like in football, hitting a receiver across the middle, helmet to helmet, is far more dangerous and has far more long-term consequences than just a fist fight in pads and a helmet. Like it doesn't. Guys get banged up a little, but you still go out and play the next night. Like. I know a lot of players don't particularly like it. Like it is a kind of a tough situation when you are the tough guy on the team. I would personally be so stressed out every night as a guy like Tom Wilson, just getting ready for the game and knowing, all right, not only do I have to focus on playing this hockey game, but more than likely I'm going to have to fight somebody tonight, and it's going to suck, and I'm going to get hit in the face, and if things go poorly for me, I can get knocked out, and that's going to be both embarrassing and bad for me.
Well, and I say I think that's what part of the problem is for me is it's a sport, and you've worked really hard to hone your craft, and it's like the sport almost has become secondary to the fighting. It just seems like you can't have a game without a fight.
It was a lot more in the past, though, because guys got jobs because they were tough. Like, there were players that were very, just not good players, but they got called up to the NHL because they needed a tough guy to protect whoever it was. Now you actually do have to be a contributing player pretty much. Otherwise you're not getting minutes. So it has gotten better. It is more about hockey, but certain things happen over the course of the game. It's like, this is the rule of hockey, and we just have to fight now. It's like baseball. If you flip a bat, then you're going to get hit the next time you're up. I mean, that's just what baseball players do. But hockey, it's just like if you throw my guy into the boards, I'm just going to have to fight you. And that's just how it is.
I am impressed, though, that they can let it go, in the penalty box. And because, me, man, I hold a grudge. It's not over. And
some of them do. Tom Wilson was seeing. There's a video of him. After the stuff on Monday, he had his jersey ripped off and he was in the penalty box, doing some weird, gorilla pose, flexing, and he got mocked for it on Wednesday. Somebody in the Rangers did the same thing back to him, of course, behind the protection of his bench and 10 other players, because he would never actually fight Tom Wilson. But I mean, sometimes they actually do just see red and they don't know, they can't control themselves. And that just happens when you get that amped up. But yeah, more times than not, it's just, you did this. And when a guy gets a penalty like that, if you hit someone and he hits his face into the boards, as soon as you make that play, shoot, now I'm going to have to fight because I just did that. It goes both ways. It's
interesting comments on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Jerry says, I'm not a hockey fan, but the more Patrick talks, the closer I get. Anonymous texter, only text we've ever gotten from this person, says, hey guys, NHL is great, but we're definitely in football, NASCAR, and Bible Belt area. Keep it moving. Thank you, anonymous texter. Feel free to send in more positive takes as well.
NASCAR is coming later.
The complaints. Yeah, we're going to talk to Dollar Shave Raceway President Gary Tharp this morning. Busy man. And we'll do our regular NASCAR picks. We'll try to survive that segment without Bill. Actually, it's a much more informative segment.
I'm so excited.
For sure. The SEC football version of a bully has been Alabama and Nick Saban. They don't beat you up necessarily. Well, they do beat you up, but they don't do it in a fighting kind of way. But fighting words, I would say, coming out from Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, a Houston touchdown club. Audio came out from the Houston Chronicle, I guess, with Jimbo saying, we're going to beat Saban while he's there, and using maybe a little bit more colorful language, and then saying, that's what we can be and better, what Alabama has been. To me is maybe one of the dumbest things I've ever heard from a college football program at all, just to come out. Now, Scott's been listening this morning and waiting patiently. 803-404-6100 on the Love Chevy phone line to talk a little bit about that situation, I think is the best way to put that. Good morning, Scott.
Well, good morning, y'all. I mean, do you want a coach to say we can't beat Alabama? Of course not. So, I mean, I'm not going to dig on. I'm not a big Jimbo Fisher fan, but I mean, you got to like where he's at. And I mean, you're not talking about a coach that's fresh. You're talking about a coach in 7 years that put 42 draft picks in the NFL at Florida State. I don't know what he's done at A&M, but he's only been there 3 years. He's 11-1 last year, one loss to Alabama. So I mean, I got to give him props. I didn't think he would do what he did at Florida State at A&M, but he's well on his way to being that type of coach and possibly winning another national championship. So, hats off to him a little bit, but you got to have a little bit of backbone and speak that way before, or your fan base is going to be a little bit upset. It's no different than Spurrier telling South Carolina fans, you don't clap when you lose. You gotta expect and want more than that. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is, but, I do think A&M's in a good spot to be, a force to be reckoned with in the next 4 years and the next couple of years, especially. And I did want to ask the question because I know people got frustrated with Terry Bradshaw's comments and everything. But I mean, a great broadcaster, obviously a Sunday broadcaster that gives his opinions, which we all love. And a 4-time Super Bowl champion, a Hall of Famer. I mean, if he can't depict a situation like Aaron Rodgers, then who can? I mean, nobody even got this mad at Al Michaels when he busted on Deion Sanders, who wasn't even getting paid at the time whenever he had his negative comments towards Deion Sanders, and he never even stepped on a field in his life. I'm just curious why we got to throw a dig on Terry, who, hey, hats off to him. I mean, if there's one person that's earned his stripes to make a comment like that, it's Terry Bradshaw.
Wait, do you remember the Terry Bradshaw and Steelers beef for decades?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and I think he'd give himself the same type of comment if that was the case.
Also, the reason we love watching him on Sundays is because he says stupid things.
That's kind of the persona.
And that might be the reason why, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong, he's only got about 3 teeth in his head from back in the day, too. From getting him knocked out. Not that, you know, he lost them. He got them knocked out.
Okay, Scott, appreciate the phone call.
So
I'm not quite sure the point there. No one's saying that Jimbo Fisher is not a good coach. What I'm saying is, why would you allow your program to poke the bear in Alabama when you're clearly far off, right? Last year is a great example. You're right. Texas A&M had a good season. They lost the one game to Alabama, but they very clearly weren't on the same level as Alabama in that game.
52-24.
52-24. That's it. That's all I would have my team say. I get it. You got to have confidence. You got to believe it can happen. Now, that's different. Of course, internally, you talk the talk and you give your guys reason for hope and optimism and the whole thing, and you flash your national championship ring. I mean, that's all you got to do. Why do you feel the need to then take it to the next level at Texas A&M of all places, Scott? We're not talking about Florida State where they've won national championships, or your North Carolina program even, where you can play an ACC schedule and have a bunch of success. We're talking about Texas A&M where they gave him a national championship trophy upon hiring him and paying him $7 million and basically said, hey, you fill it in and figure it out. Why then do you feel the need to go poke the bear? You think that's a smart move? To have Alabama circle that game? A 52-24 game last year where they completely dominated, and you could skate into that thing and have those guys be a little overconfident maybe and feel nice and complacent going into that atmosphere, and now you're gonna come out and say you're gonna do that without the winningest quarterback in school history coming back. To me, what do you gain? You don't. This is not a program where you have to get people on board and start to get people believing that you can be a really good program. Texas A&M is nuts. You need money? Here you go. Write your own check. You need resources? Here you go. That's how Texas A&M has been for a while. It's a different place. And that's why I don't understand. Why would you throw some more stuff on there? Because you're only going to tick people off. If it's 52-24 again this year, and you've already said that you're going to beat Nick Saban while he's there, clock's ticking there, big guy, Jimbo, and it goes right on your shoulders. And I get it. He's got $1 million a year to back it up and his national championship trophy, and maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he's that guy. But then it goes on your players too. And the way that college football environment works, you know, Texas A&M's own fans will be on any single player who's not making a play against Alabama, and that's not the environment you want. I don't know. Maybe
there's just such an easy way to handle it. Just say, this is Texas A&M. We expect to win every game we play. We're embarrassed at our performance last year, but we're not just going to be scared and roll over because it's Alabama. We can play with anyone, and that
need a break.
We're going to kick their butts while he's there. Just don't write a check that you can't cash. Or if you don't cash it, you'll look like an idiot.
52-24. It's May. It's easy to talk big in May. Beating Alabama while Nick Saban is there. is a completely different thing. And now you want them more motivated. Good luck. 803-404-6100 is the number if you'd like to join. You can call or text. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Shane Beamer.
I'm a process-driven person, and we're going to get started day one advancing this program and making it better.
107.5 The Game.
I know it's cliche, but it's the truth.
Welcome, Coach.
Hey, that 1-year-old yesterday actually did pretty good. Went out to eat for Cinco de Mayo. I think maybe that he just feels more comfortable in a crowded, loud restaurant than in his high chair at the dinner table where he's just yelling and he's dominating the household. So maybe we'll continue to do that, but we probably that actually, now that when the bill comes after that and I do the math on that, probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. I have an idea. Fortunately, I've had some help at my house at Zero Res Carpet and Air Cleaning have come and helped to contain the mess, or at least clean up after my kids and my family. Zero Res done a great job cleaning my carpets, cleaned an area rug for me, freshened up the tiles in both the kitchen and the bathroom at my house. I know they can do the same thing for you. The really important part about Zero Res coming out to my house with my family is that there are no harsh chemicals involved in their cleaning process. It's a patented powered water deal. You can check out all the details at ZeroResColumbia.com. You can also see they have a great deal for you right now. 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. Maybe you don't have a 1-year-old that's dominating you and making things a little bit more difficult to keep clean around your house. Good for you, but maybe you might have some pets. You might have some other kids or other issues that you need some help with. Zero Res, I promise you will do a great job, give you great results, and do it in a way where you will be thankful. Also, with no leftover soapy residue, your carpets will stay cleaner longer. Give them a call at 803-262-4020. It's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
There. From the Shepherd's Glass.
Hey, you guys were good on the audio there from Scott and Patrick during that segment. If not, please let me know. I didn't see any complaining on the live chat, so I assume you guys could hear Scott okay. And Patrick okay. I think Patrick might have been a little bit low there for a second.
During the last segment?
Yeah, I was just going to switch it over to our program deal, and it didn't look like the audio was coming in very high. Good for you, John. Get a little F3 workout in, maybe?
Wow.
Thank you, Craig. Good for you, John. Jim, what are you talking about, man? Only need several more national championships. You're right. You have to say the same thing on the text line.
He only need 5 more. Right? Already too late, though. Every class that he's coached at Clemson has not won a national championship, so we can't match Saban.
So we got 2 ridiculous takes vying for most ridiculous take of the morning. Jim's Clemson take, Sonny's take that Shane Beamer will be the next Nick Saban. Neck and neck on each side of the rivalry.
I would love to see that be the case for Beamer.
And all Gamecock fans will.
Todd saying roll Todd, if he meant that. Is
That's right. The close third.
I kind of love that, though.
Well, I do think
Look at
Clemson
this.
or Gamecock fans have to have something to put their hope in. You know, like, yeah, is Beamer going to become the next Saban? Yeah, probably not. But right now, we need any kind of hope. You know.
Yeah, but how
Let's
about
walk
start
before-
with
no. Yeah.
well, how about start with get back to a winning season first?
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
How about some baby steps there?
Long term.
That is a
Fine.
good auto correct comment right here. Only problem is Nana keeps winning them, so Danny will have to wait till Saban is gone. It was a Bama and a Dabo in there. Roll third person is good, Craig. And John, wow, same thing, man. Guys.
Yeah, one step at a time. But it is important to do it, you know, a 3-year plan, 5-year plan. So maybe that's how these people are very structured and how they plan.
Right, Craig. Exactly. How about that? How about get out of 6th in the SEC East pecking order, get up to 5th and 4th first.
You know how many wins Frank Beamer has?
Oh, I think he coached 30 years. They averaged 7. I'm going to go. It's more than 200.
280.
Oh, closer to 300.
Yeah.
So all Shane Beamer needs to do to catch his dad is 28 10-win seasons. That's it. That is ridiculous.
Or he could coach 2 teams and cut that in half.
Right.
If we win the national championship every single year and don't lose any regular season games, we can get this done in 19.
All right.
It'll take a little less than 2 decades. Nothing to it.
Well, he's a young guy.
Yeah.
2040. Just saying that out loud blows my mind.
Yeah, so he'll be 63 with 18 national championships, and during season 19, he'll go ahead and pass his dad.
Has anybody else broken that out for him? Like, you know, just stress him out one morning?
I have not heard of so many of the coaches that are ahead of him in all-time wins.
Oh, yeah?
This is definitely not all Division I coaches, because number one is the
John Gagliardi.
Yeah. Number 2, Joe Paterno. Number 3, Eddie Robinson from Grambling. 408 wins.
Is Alonzo Stagg on there?
Yes. Tied for 10th with Roy Kidd.
Never heard of Roy Kidd.
Eastern Kentucky.
Oh,
Warner.
Are you kidding me, T-Ray? That'll instant elite status.
Yep. All right, heading back in. Just the one caller.
Who we got? Sorry.
Richard.
Thank you. And Richard wants to get back into the hockey deal.
Basically just appreciates the hockey conversation.
Gotcha.
You're up.
Fun first half of the show, kicking off the second half of the show with a lot of promise this morning, a lot of optimism. That doesn't mean we have to just start claiming that we're going to be the best show of all time and turn this thing into the perennial powerhouse of radio shows. We don't have to be like Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M and make those I'll get back to that in a second. Just wanted to let you know that first of 10 chances to win $100 today, qualify to win 25,000 happens in about 25 minutes from now. It's 25K workday payday right here on 107.5 The Game, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. top of every hour. You get a chance to get a secret keyword. It gets announced. All you got to do is text that hourly keyword to 95819, and you qualify to win that $100. And every winner entered into the drawing for the grand prize jackpot of $25,000, $25K workday payday here on 107.5. It was $7 million per year is what Jimbo Fisher signed at Texas A&M. So somebody just hit us up. This is Ty. I don't care for Jimbo, but what he said wasn't public. It was at a booster pep rally to raise money, and it just happened to get out. Ty says, I would have said that too, so they would write them big checks. First of all, at Texas A&M, raising money ain't a problem. And secondly, Patrick, this comes down to coaching a college football program in the 21st century and understanding that it's a little different than it was back in Spurrier's day, where you could even, I guess, maybe it's not, even in Spurrier's day, right? Those corny jokes that he talked about, the lines that got out, they got out. But his excuse was, oh, well, I was just talking to Gator fans, and it was like Gator Club meetings, and it was just some corny jokes for them. Like, you have to know that this stuff's going to get out. And it's one thing for Jimbo Fisher to say this, right? He has the relationship with Nick Saban, and I'm sure you mentioned the text thread that these guys are in, Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp and company. I think it's kind of pretty famous these days that they're all in a group text message. And so I'm guessing right after he said it, or maybe even before, Jimbo might have thrown one out there like, hey, I'm going to get them going today or something, right? Or, hey, coach, just as a heads up, I just told everybody we're going to beat your butt. Ha ha. I'm guessing they have fun with it, right? Behind closed doors.
Oh, they probably all sent him a text like, come on, dude. Come on. Lane had some harsh words for him, I'm sure.
Lane loved it. Are you kidding me? That's it. Something.
Yeah, but Lane, well, I don't know. I do wish we heard Jimbo say it. Because
I think
if we heard that quote from Lane, I think we would know that he has a smirk on his face too, and he's saying it like tongue in cheek. I don't know that Jimbo has that same persona. Like,
well, that's the thing, right? With Lane Kiffin, it's cute at Ole Miss, right? Lane Kiffin is the little kid who's looking for that attention, and he's a heck of a coach. We understand that, but he's also a different dude, and you got to accept him for who he is. And not that big a deal, because what the ceiling at Ole Miss is what? Third place. Are they going to ever finish better than third place in the SEC West? Do we really believe that? I don't. I think it'd be a heck of a job to finish third in the SEC West relatively consistently. Are you ever going to turn that program into more without cheating Lane Kiffin? I don't think so. I think Ole Miss has proven that in my lifetime anyway. And
what if Arch Manning comes there?
Great. How many NCAA violations will follow?
Wow.
You tell me Lane Kiffin can keep control of a program? Is that what he's
went there? Grandpa went there. Dad went there.
Right. That was a long, long time ago. Yeah. Both of them. And how good was Eli Manning when he was there? How good was Ole Miss?
I think he was pretty good.
Did they ever finish better than third?
I was a little guy back then. I don't really remember.
I don't think they ever finished better than third. I think that's generous. I'm just saying he's a different entity. The Texas A&M situation, they're legit right now. That season they had last year was a legit college football playoff season. They're on the cusp. You're not the cute trouble in the league, all right? You're trying to be one of the big boys. And the way you get there is not by running your mouth, and it is not by generating some more donations in the offseason after you got whipped 52-24 to Alabama last year. That's my problem with that. We'll continue to discuss this morning. Glad you're on board. 803-404-6100. You can call or text. And Richard knows that. He was actually listening to Patrick break down the hockey situation last night, which we rarely do, which is a sentence I rarely put out there. But when you drop the puck and 6 guys drop the gloves instantly in an NHL game, and it happens to be Patrick's favorite franchise in the Washington Capitals, it has led to some discussion this morning. And Richard would like to weigh in as well on the Love Chevy phone lines. Good morning, Richard.
say, to the guy, I don't remember if he was anonymous texture, but the one about the, being down here in the South and hockey and that kind of things. I just wanted to mention to him in case, I was raised in North Carolina. I am South Carolina, and I've been a Gamecock fan my whole life. But I just wanted to say, if you look in the South, the only world championship that the state of North Carolina has, or that the Carolinas can claim, is a Stanley Cup. And going way back to somebody who's been a fan of Archie Urbe and Sammy Kapanen and Ron Francis, and spending many a nights, watching the Checkers play, getting a chance to see them play the Inferno. There are a lot of kids down here that may not know as many football players as they do hockey players. I mean, I grew up with, being a fan of, Dominique Hasek, the Dominator, and, Jaromir Jagr, and, dreaming of playing roller hockey. So, I mean, I just wanted to say that when you guys do bring it up, it is muchly appreciated. It may not be as popular as people think, but it is nice to see that you guys throw that in there. And I love 107.5 The Game for doing that. And the fact that when you guys do it, you do give good information. I just want to take up for you guys and say thank you this morning.
Thanks, Richard. Before you drop the mic, can you tell us how'd you get into hockey originally?
Roller hockey. I grew up in playing roller hockey, and what really happened is we got a chance. I switched over to play ice hockey a little bit. I don't know if you guys are familiar or not, but used to be a mall in Charlotte that had an ice hockey rink, Eastland Mall, and I got into playing ice hockey there, and we got good enough, and they had a program, the NHL did, to where if you did well enough, with your little conference games, they gave us a chance before the Hurricanes were in their new place in Raleigh. They played at Greensboro, and we got a chance to go up and play a halftime game, and we got a chance to meet the New York Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes. And the coolest thing about that whole experience is these are pro athletes that are fixing to play a game, that really didn't have to pay us any attention whatsoever. But they came out and watched our game before theirs, talked to us, cheered us on, and I'd never had any experience with any professional sports franchise like that ever. I mean, they were so down to earth to be these people that played pro hockey and had a long schedule like they did. It really took off from there.
Thank you, Richard. Good stuff.
The Hurricanes are really good this year, too. They're in first place. Also, that Stanley Cup he's talking about, head coach of that team, Peter Laviolette, head coach of the Capitals, who was overseeing all of that violence last night.
So you're saying the current Washington Capitals coach is the guy who was coaching the Hurricanes to that Stanley Cup? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 2006.
Just try to follow all that with the French you threw in there with the Pierre and the whole thing. It's difficult for a guy.
Laviolette, Peter Laviolette. He's American.
Come on. Isn't that don't you have to pronounce it with a lay at the end instead of the let in hockey if you're Pierre?
Well, not if you're American. Peter Laviolette. Peter Laviolette.
Peter, it's not Pierre.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah, he's from Boston.
All right, fair enough. As he was talking, Patrick, isn't the point or isn't the fact that hockey does have fights? Because I agree with him. Any interactions, and when the old Columbia Inferno were in town, used to interact with some of their players and coaches, and hockey guys are just different dudes. We went out to the Gamecock Club hockey golf tournament a couple of years ago. I think it is now. They're just different dudes, fun guys. Hockey guy, never met a hockey guy that wasn't like, oh, this is a great guy. Is it part of it the fact that you can get your butt beat every single game that keeps guys a little bit more humble, I think, in hockey than other sports? Isn't that part of it?
Oh, it's a very humbling sport because even if you don't fight every day, I mean, there are going to be times where you're going to get laid out, you're going to get thrown to the boards. Like, you have to be prepared for that. And I think the fact that they're the fourth most popular sport in America probably stops them from being divas too. They're kind of in their own little world. They're not making hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's a little easier that way. So yeah, I mean, they're the most, for sure, the most down to earth players. I think baseball players generally are pretty down to earth, but there are definitely some divas in that sport as well.
We got somebody that is disagreeing, Trey, on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Tom Wilson, not a great guy, still a hockey guy. Tom Wilson actually is a great guy. Tom Wilson takes Make-A-Wish kids in the locker room before every single game that they play. Every single game. How about that? Patrick Perrette, ladies and gentlemen, @ Patrick Perrette, where you can find him on Twitter. Jen is @ Jen Jensen Morse. I'm @ Tim Hill 1075. Bill Gunter helping to fill in for Heath Klein for the next few days. You can find him from 4 to 7 here on 1075 The Game, both today, tomorrow, and then on Monday. Heath getting some much deserved time off, kind of this extended weekend. will continue to try to fill in those huge shoes. No jokes, Jen. No jokes for Bill Gunter as we roll on. 803-404-6100 if you would like to join. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
Your 24/7 sports station.
Pretty good. Pretty.
Yeah, you definitely need to be fans of definitely,
Yeah.
but all the hockey cities in the South, I think, do really, really well. Like Raleigh's like actually a good hockey city. Their games get pretty energetic, and Nashville is a tremendous hockey city. I don't know the first thing about the Florida Panthers and their attendance. I actually think it's probably pretty bad. But where are they in Miami? Yeah, they're in Miami. There's just other things to do in Miami. They don't care about anything. It's like LA. But yeah, if anyone you should go to the Charlotte Checkers. The Charlotte Checkers are a great time. Those games, they fight a lot. And those lower, the AHL, they fight all the time.
More than any other sport, being there in person makes it a lot more fun in hockey, in my experience.
We've had a great time going to Caps practices. They have open practices, and it's a blast to watch. It's unbelievable how loud it is. Like you would not believe how loud the sound of the wood smacking the puck is. Like it echoes through the entire arena.
Oh, and I've never seen either the massive difference. Having grown up in the ECHL world, grew up in Greensboro, so went to the old Greensboro Monarchs games, and then it was the Columbia Inferno for a long time. But when I lived out in Texas, I went to a couple of Stars games. Had a buddy who was an NHL guy, and man, just the difference in level of the game is so massive. There's so much better. You were talking about the difference between like the MLS and the Premier League or whatever. I think that's it, right? That's the best analogy I can give. Because in other sports, I don't think you can really tell as much. Like baseball, guys are going to throw hard. You can there's a big difference between the Sally League and Major League Baseball, but still it's baseball. The pace is the same. You're drinking beer. You're probably not paying that much attention maybe necessarily.
Yeah.
Hockey, the pace, how crisp it is, and the speed of the game is so much higher at the NHL level than just even the ECHL level, where they're obviously pro hockey players. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, because in basketball, college basketball is a better brand of basketball. In the NBA, they're not even trying hard half the time, so it's impossible to compare. But it is the speed. Like baseball, college baseball, like they're not out there dropping pop flies and like routine ground balls. They're still making them and like throwing you out. Like not much changes from the position of the viewer, but the speed and like the crispness of the movement and everything like that is pretty unbelievable. And it's such a small space. Like I actually really like watching international hockey because the ice is way bigger and you have room to like skate around people and do stuff. But the NHL, you just have to be so crisp at all times because the ice is so small and so fast. And they're on skates the whole time, which is very difficult to do. Because most
Ridiculous.
popular behind soccer. Says Brad.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair, pretty accurate these days.
Not American soccer.
Just soccer in America, though.
I guess, yeah.
So with the walk-off hit last night, Travis, nice. Any 3 games over the Dodgers, I'm all for.
No soccer talk, but Christian Pulisic deserves a shout out for what he has done. You know who Christian Pulisic is?
I do. He's the best American soccer player, correct?
Yeah, he's 22 years old, and he's about to be. They just did the Champions League semifinals. The Champions League is the biggest tournament in the world, the most watched sporting event every year annually. He had a goal and an assist in the 2 games against Real Madrid, like the most legendary club in the world. and is now going to be the first American to ever start a Champions League final. And he's getting like highly praised by everyone in the world. Like everyone's eyes are going to be on him, and he's going to be a massive focal point of that game. And an American has never had the spotlight on the world soccer stage like he's about to have, or has currently. It's pretty cool. And he's 22.
Wow, that's crazy. That's the thing about the soccer timeline too, man. If you're not at that level at age 22, you're probably not getting there.
That's
right?
likely not. Yeah.
There's very little late development, I feel like.
Yeah, because you break in at you're allowed to start playing professionally at 16. So
We're talking about our country there, Chad. No way you're saying soccer's number one in our country. In the world, yeah, we got it. Yeah, we got it.
no, but I mean, that's what's so cool. Like people will just poo-poo it and be like, "Stop talking about soccer. This is South Carolina." But literally, like, there's an American kid that is now going to be one of the most talked about athletes in the world for people that don't care about any other sport. It's pretty awesome.
What's that kid's personality?
Quiet.
Likable?
Yeah. I think he's I think he's pretty intense on the field, but off the field there's not much you know about him for his personality. He's a quiet kid.
Interesting. Doesn't sound like necessarily the guy to take soccer to the next level in the country, though.
Maybe not. I mean, yeah. His parents kept him in Germany for longer than he probably had to be because they just felt like it was better for him.
One of those things. So where is he from?
He's from Hershey, PA.
And then when did he go overseas for the first time? 15?
He was like, yeah, I think it was like 15 or 16 maybe. He was starting on Dortmund, which is a premier club. Like they make the Champions League every year, and he was playing in the Champions League, but it was like a little more low key for him, and he was learning German, and things were like going really well, and they didn't want to just blow it up and have him go to the Premier League and sit on the bench and just not be great for him. So he waited until he was actually going to be ready to contribute from day one, and it worked perfectly.
Look at the soccer nerds, Trey and Chad, just been waiting for this.
Yeah. Weston McKinney. These kids are all under 22 years old. Gio Reyna as well.
So what's the deal to go with the USA and not go to Croatia? His family roots are from there and he could play for him? Is that the deal?
Was it? I guess so. His parents are very American.
So my other question is, he's not a guy that grew up at like a military base in another country and claims American, right?
No, he went to a normal like high school. So it looks like
Born in Hope.
He was born in 98. His Wikipedia page says he was in England from 2005 to 2006, but then came back to play in America until 2015.
Somehow soccer came up on the live video chat. That reminds me, we need to get in a quick call to Richard there on the Love Chevy phone lines. Had a question, I believe, about the hockey conversation that we're.
Ahead, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all?
We're doing well. We don't have a ton of time. How can we help you, sir?
I just don't understand how a goon like Wilson can get away with what he gets away with. Does hockey not have any rules at all? I mean, he can just pummel people who are on the ground. He's a thug, and I don't care how many Make-A-Wish children he shows around the locker room. He's a punk. Y'all have a nice day.
40.
Okay. Good talk. That was one of those where it happens a lot. You ever in a conversation and you realize you're not in a conversation?
30.
Like, oh, you're not listening to me at all. You don't want to exchange any ideas. You just wanted to get your stuff out there. Got it. That's not a conversation. That's not really what we do on the show, Richard. Do appreciate the call.
15.
Though. You sound like a pleasant person. It's such an easy thing to do on Sports Talk Radio. And now you can just yell back at them, and then other people can yell, and then we'll all be mad at each other.
5.
Let's try to do better in hour 3.
This is South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening.
107.5.
Good call, Travis. Good call there. Trey, you're still going with just random players. You could be completely making up these names I do recognize the club names only because my kids are playing FIFA these days on the video game, but the players, come on.
Zach Steffen's the goalie. He went to the University of Maryland.
This is what you soccer nerds do. It makes my head hurt. You just take it in a complete different direction. Just give them an inch here, and you guys are all over it. I thought you just said so once you play with the adult national team, you can't switch. Is that what you're saying there, Chad? Yeah, I see that, Trey. That's hilarious. You see what Trey did here? I did see that one. I see what you're doing on that one.
All right, so it's not that hard to get eligibility to play for other countries in soccer generally. His grandfather was born in Croatia. Both of his parents are American. He obtained Croatian citizenship when he went to Germany so that he wouldn't have to go through the process of getting a German work visa to play, because that is a pain for a lot of players, having to get the work visas. So he just did that.
That's the thing. Oh, last night, my 6-year-old just read a biography about Jesse Owens. So last night, 6 and 8-year-old, we had to talk a lot about Hitler. That was a good time. Good call, Craig. Let's move on to curling now.
Yeah, that Hitler, that's somebody else who needs a hug. Good one.
I think we're looking good for, when's the next Winter Games? 2022?
Olympic?
Yeah.
No, it's this summer. The 20 games have been delayed. Right?
But that's summer. When are the next Winter Games?
Oh, yeah, 22. I think you're right.
22, yeah.
Tough to curl in the summertime. That's going to be awesome. Wait, what time is it in Tokyo right now? What time is it in Tokyo?
I'm going to guess it's 10 o'clock at night.
9 p.m., yeah.
Any particular reason you're asking?
Well, when the games are going on, that means we'll have like prime time events to watch live during the show. Yeah.
That will increase listenership twofold.
It was great having the World Cup on during, like, there were games at 6 a.m. and it's just something to watch on TV while we're. Because SportsCenter doesn't show highlights anymore, so even when we have the TVs on in the studio, it's just we're watching people talk to each other and we can't hear what they're saying.
Uh-oh, you're saying for the Olympics, Trey, you're going to nerd it out for us? Are you saying is the World Cup this summer? What's going on in the summer?
No, World Cup is in 22 as well, I think.
Because it's always an alternate between the Olympics, right?
Yeah, World Cup is 22.
Well, all bets are off these days.
I love the Olympics.
Yep, he's saying, yeah, absolutely nerding it up for the Olympics.
I'll nerd it up for the Olympics.
Excellent. Exactly, Trey. See that and like Kentucky Derby stuff, man, it's hard for me to get into that thing and pretend like we all care about the floor exercise for the last 3.5 years of training.
We do care. What?
No. Don't care, Patrick.
I legitimately care when it's going on. I want America to win.
Right. When it's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care if Brazil's playing like Germany in the volleyball finals, but if America's involved, I'll care.
Wait. What's your guy? That's not your guy there that plays for the Capitals? What's his name?
Yeah, that's Oshie.
Oh, I was thinking I'm so dumb. I was thinking of the biathlon in the Olympics. Like,
Yeah.
put on a shooting clinic. Oh, that's a shootout. My fault. That's different.
Yeah.
I was like, Ochi's a biathlete too. Whoa, I really respect him now.
One of the most electric games in any sport that I've ever watched. It was so intense. Going head to head with Ilya Kovalchuk, like 6 or 7 straight shootouts. I was watching that one in New Orleans. I was at Mardi Gras my senior year of high school.
So what year are we talking there?
2014.
I think the only time I've gotten into the Olympic hockey was that 2002 it would have been then? Yeah. My buddy was the big hockey guy.
Well, that was a lot. I mean, that was a lot of fun. Beating Russia, who's a hockey country, was fantastic.
Right. Well, that's kind of the whole point of Miracle on Ice. And
the TJ Oshie thing was like he was the last person to make the team. He wasn't even an established NHL player at that point. He just had really good hands. They were like, we're putting him on the team to get into a shootout, and it all ended up working out perfectly according to plan. Patrick Kane was the best player on that team, but missed his shootout goal and like didn't play all that well.
All right, just about to come back in.
Thank you. I'm going to get back on my Texas A&M high horse here. My apologies for being that guy.
That's right.
Hello, hour number 3. Glad you're a part of the show this morning. Whether you're joining us the traditional FM dial, maybe you're in your car on your way to work, maybe you're checking out the live video stream on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter right now. At 1075 The Game is the station handle on Twitter where you can find us. Love to have you as a channel subscriber on the YouTube page. You can just search 1075 The Game. You can see Patrick's well-coiffed hair today, even despite wearing the headset. Not messing that thing up at all, and with no product. Is that correct, sir?
Never, ever had product in my hair.
Good for you. It's one of the reasons I respect you. I think Jen was looking to take a shot there, but then she analyzed your hair game, and I don't think there was a weakness. There's nothing you can go at.
No, but I'm pretty impressed. If really no product and everything, that's impressive.
Shower is well timed. Sometimes if I take a shower right before that, this presses down. The headset presses down on it. I have like a gap in my head. It looks.
Yeah, it's called headphone hair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, headphone hair.
Well, that's why you see with Jen, she just goes earbuds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the reason.
Nothing on the whiteboard. I'm a little disappointed with that, Patrick. Other than that, I think you have done more than a good job helping to fill in for Bill Gunter, who will be filling in for Heath Klein this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and on Monday from 4 to 7 here on 107.5 The Game. Multiple topics. Love that Patrick is in the hot seat this morning because of his Washington Capitals last night with the New York Rangers. Look, we never talk about hockey here. I get it, right? We had somebody text us for the very first time. I'm glad to see that the text line's up and rolling, 803-404-6100. Texter understands it was an appropriate link, appropriately well-versed link. No, what am I looking for? Efficient wording, right? Not too many words, but certainly got the point across saying, hey, we do SEC football and NASCAR around here. This is the Bible Belt. Get it? Let's get back to it. Move on about the hockey talk. But last night, when you drop the puck at a hockey game and 1 second in, you don't have one fight or two. You got 3 separate fights going on between the Capitals and the Rangers. That is notable and worth talking about. And that's what we've been doing this morning with some of that background. Patrick, can you give us the quick version of how this came to be last night?
Yeah, the quick version is that they're playing only division opponents this year. Tensions are getting very heated. The Rangers season is 3 games from being up. The Capitals are about to start the playoffs. And Tom Wilson on Monday, very controversial player, had crossed the line a little bit in some post-play antics and hit a guy in a way that they felt was dirty, and they thought he should be suspended, and he was not suspended. So the Rangers decided that they needed to settle it on their own. Did not go well on the score column, and it also did not go well on the scorecard of the fights.
Hey, wait a second. As you say that, but Wilson wasn't on the ice to start last night because they knew this was going to happen, right?
Well, he's not always a first liner, but I think it would have been, I think it would have been a little different.
But then they also didn't put him on the ice later in the game because of this. Is that right?
Well, they did. He had already fought, and guys were still just hitting him late, and he was just a target the entire time. He had gotten to end the first period. They gave him and another guy who were just jawing, and they were hitting each other after the fight, but they just gave him like a game misconduct penalty for it was a 10-minute penalty just for the sake of getting him off the ice to end the period, so that everything would kind of calm down a little bit. So with like 4 or 6 minutes left in the first period, he was just sent off and sat in the locker room. And by the second period, everything had kind of calmed down a little bit until the Rangers defenseman hit a guy in the face with a ridiculous cross check to the face that for sure gets suspended for. And it was actually worse than anything Tom Wilson did on Monday. So
keep in mind, Patrick is a little bit biased being a Washington Capitals guy, but I loved it. This is part of Patrick's charm as well, being such a loyal fan to his teams, including the Gamecocks. Anonymous Raj, a lot of interesting takes on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line right now at 803-404-6100. Raj says, I hate hockey, but I watched the first few minutes of the game last night because I'm a fan of watching impending chaos. Prescott says, big Skins and Caps fan here. Loved every second of that game last night. Co-pilot says, I'd rather listen to someone talk about hockey than NASCAR. We had James in, just Tom Wilson as a dirtbag. Jen, you just got to let that one go. I was going to say Chad and Trey were all in on any kind of soccer discussion on the live video stream especially. So this has been a well-rounded show. I'm going to bring it right back to SEC football and something that we're all very familiar with in Nick Saban's dominance and others in the SEC trying to keep pace. And it hadn't worked, right? When you think about that, Patrick, who do you think of? I think Gus Malzahn probably did it better than anybody else as far as head-to-head matchups and beating Nick Saban. Lane Kiffin is another guy that you have to throw out there as having some success. Or actually, I was thinking Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin now. So Hugh Freeze is a guy that had some success. Actually, Kevin Sumlin in Texas A&M had a little success. Johnny Manziel back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, Kirby got the closest to actually beating him.
Right. But he's been the closest in those 23 tries of Saban assistants going against their former boss. But right now, as things stand in the SEC,
temperatures call today.
When you say Texas A&M, it's certainly in the conversation of being one of the programs that has the chance to knock Alabama off the throne. Last year, just one loss, right there in the conversation for the college football playoff at the end of the year. And we saw it coming when they came to Columbia midway through the year, right? The schedule just lined up for them to finish with one loss and be in the conversation. And then that 48-3 whipping, to me, is what cemented Will Muschamp's exit from the Gamecock program. Not only did you lose, but you lost to a program that Gamecock fans expect you to compete with. I think it's pretty fair. Texas A&M through the years in college football, a little bit more success than the Gamecocks, but not much more from a national standpoint. There is no perennial track record of championships when you go back and look at Texas A&M. And that's one of the reasons why when they hired Jimbo Fisher away from Florida State, paid him $7 million a year and gave him the national championship trophy that was blank with the year. It said, yeah, you're going to fill that one in, and we're confident of it and the whole thing. I think most of us said, whoa, this is going to be something. And the latest version of that is yesterday, I believe it was, might have been the day before, Houston Touchdown Club meeting. So basically a bunch of boosters, right? And no cameras involved, but audio now has come out of Jimbo Fisher saying, we're going to beat Nick Saban while he's still there. And then more, not just that, right? Got it. You're talking to your fans. You need to be confident in the whole thing, no doubt. But then to basically say we're going to be what Alabama is, that's too much. And don't worry, we're going to beat them. That to me is where Jimbo Fisher goes from being a well-respected national championship winning head coach to being a guy that's writing checks that he's not going to be able to cash. Eventually, that's going to be us. We can do it just as good or be just as good or better, and we will. That's the direct quote from Jimbo Fisher from the Houston Touchdown Club. And then you got players popping off in the spring saying, all I can say is can't wait until the Alabama game. What was the score again of last year's game, Patrick?
52-24.
You go back through Texas A&M's season last year. Their big-time win was by a field goal at home against Florida. Other than that, I mean, you could argue their most impressive win came in Columbia last year with the complete dismantling of the Gamecocks, 48-3. Other than that, I'm going through their schedule. I guess maybe you say Tennessee 34-13 at the end of the Jeremy Pruitt era, the last game of the regular season. You beat a North Carolina team that didn't have, I don't think, either one of their running backs in their Orange Bowl game. You beat them by 14. Patrick, do you remember who Texas A&M opened the season with last year? They played Alabama in the second game of the season. You want to take a guess? You want to remember who they opened the season with last year?
No, I don't remember. Was it like Arkansas? Was it somebody bad?
Close.
Was Arkansas beat LSU to start the year, didn't they?
So it's a similar type level program when you're talking about the bottom of the SEC.
They got
right?
Vandy on their. It was Vandy. Okay.
Do you want to guess? Do you guys want to guess what the final score was last year? Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. Texas A&M, a team saying they're going to be Alabama and better. Last year, season opener. So don't give me you're looking ahead, or it was a trap game, or it's 18 to 22-year-olds, and you never know any given Saturday. And this is a Vanderbilt team. Let me double check. Winless last year, right? 0-10. Yeah. Had to change coaches. You want to guess what that score was? The game last year.
It was. I think they won by like a touchdown.
You're giving them too much credit. 17-12. That was with the most experienced and winningest quarterback in school history in Kellen Mond. They won 17-12. It was a 14-12 game going into the fourth quarter. They get a field goal to really extend that lead. Give me a break, Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. The problem is not being confident and not having players be confident in your program. It is being delusional and not understanding what Nick Saban has done in Alabama. They completely dominated the SEC in a period where you're not supposed to dominate anymore, where the arms race has been cranked up and everybody's got the same amount of scholarships and the whole thing, and this ridiculous notion that, well, if players get name, image, and likeness, then the big time programs are going to have some unfair advantages and be able to. What? Alabama is on a different level. 38 first-round draft picks since 2010, while Texas A&M has had 36 guys drafted total. 38 first-round draft picks since 2010. You're going to be that program, Jimbo Fisher? Get out. And how does it help you to be telling your guys, your boosters, your fans, to be telling them that? Other than, okay, it might feel good in the moment. Maybe these idiots will just write you a check. But guess what, man? Now you got Alabama-sized expectations? What are you doing? Jimbo, what are you doing? Good luck.
I don't think they need help selling out Kyle Field, but they will certainly. Well, they've got Kent State, Colorado, New Mexico, Arkansas, and Mississippi State. So they'll almost definitely be 5-0. And Alabama is. I was wondering if you were talking like that and you had to go into Bryant-Denny this year, you're a moron. But it is a home game, so that's going to be all the talk on the SEC network and College Game Day and stuff that week. Game day will be there, and then they'll just get whooped like 63-10 or something like that.
Well, it'll be. I think last year's game was 14-14. I can see first quarter. Oh, they're backing up the talk, the whole thing. That's what. I mean, don't we understand? That's Alabama is just built so much differently. They just have players stacked upon players and on players. And Nick Saban has just completely trained the ego and the selfish out of them. Otherwise, they just get out of the program, right? They're just not welcome. Either you completely conform to that machine, or you're not part of the machine, man. And other college football programs try to replicate it. We saw it here in Columbia. We saw it in Tennessee. We've seen it with assistant coaches around the league and around the country, and it doesn't work.
Is he just purposely zagging because all the other Saban assistants are trying to completely be Nick Saban? He's like, I'm not me.
Kevin, exactly. Isn't Jimbo making $8 to $10 million a year? I think it's 7, but whatever. He better be thinking it, but he better be careful saying it. That's exactly it, man. Of course you're thinking it. Of course you're trying to replicate it and build it. And of course you want to tell your players that you can do it. You want to express confidence to your fans. But come on, dude. And in the 21st century, you think this stuff is going to stay behind closed doors and not get out? You don't think it's going to get over to Alabama? Maybe in May, I guess you feel like you can get away with it. Now's the time to do it. Oh, I just think you're going the wrong way here. Day is my biggest fan. All right, we get it. A&M's being delusional. Do we need a 20-minute rant? And a hug. 803-404-6100. If you would like to weigh in on the show, you can call or text. Be a part of the show, positively or negatively, however you choose. Gamecock baseball last night, 7-6 win over North Florida, avoiding what I think have been a disaster. Not necessarily from a record standpoint. You lose one midweek game, I get it. But after getting swept at Ole Miss, after losing 5 of 6 in the SEC with Mississippi State coming to town, it would have been a momentum disaster last night to not win against North Florida. Gamecocks avoid that 2-run RBI hit from George Khalil in the 7th inning, gives Carolina the lead, and then Julian Bosnick helps shut the door. Big series coming up for the Gamecocks, with Mississippi State coming to town this weekend. We might get in more on that, or who knows? We might go hockey and soccer or SEC football rants. Never can tell.
Big Ten semifinals today in lacrosse.
Oh boy. We'll avoid lacrosse talk at all possibilities. We will have Darlington Raceway President Kerry Tharp coming up a little bit later on in the program as well. Big week in Darlington. We'll get Kerry's thoughts about head football coaches in the SEC saying things this time of year him being a longtime former USC sports information director, and then how that gets handled from a public messaging standpoint the rest of the way, because Kerry's been around that. You're listening to the early game here. It's 107.5 again. Disagree, Hope. Disagree. I'm sure Nick Saban has that direct quote already printed up, placed very prominently in a locker room or however they do it, send it straight to their iPads or whatever these days.
Even if he's not personally offended, he cares. It will work for his team. Make sure his team
That
cares.
audio is the audio is probably playing on a loop in the organization, as they say. So I'm going to try to listen to the audio right now. I'm not able to for some reason. Here is audio. If you look it up, I think on the internet, it says 1955 audio. So probably not worth playing on the show. Oh, Patrick, are we losing you? You going to the coffee this morning now? Now the time?
No, I'm doing research for Bill.
You do what?
I'm getting Bill's NASCAR pick ready.
Ah, nice work. Thank you. Sorry, I'm checking out my dad's hot take in on the personal text line. And Tommy Moody just wanted us to know that Willie Mays turned 90 today. Got that as well. Nice work, Jen. Of course it's silly, Hope. No doubt. That's what football coaches are most of the time.
This race is called the Bushy McBush.
One more time? Oh, yeah.
Bushy McBush? What is that?
They had a contest, I think, to name it, and that's what they got. They ended up. Jim asks if there's any history between Beamer and Fisher since they both came from the ACC. I'm sure there's some in there. Florida State and Virginia Tech certainly overlapped. That was during Jimbo's heyday, too, at Florida State, while Shane was with his dad. So he got to see that up close and personal.
Hiring season on Indeed. Indeed has 135 skills tests that go beyond the resume to help you find the right candidates faster. Discover more at Indeed.com/credit. Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Settle in with host Nate Burleson and guest Justin Fields, Najee Harris, and Jamar Chase in the new Progressive YouTube series Up All Night. We're replacing fluff questions with fluffy.
Wow. It's a good one, Craig. I'm guessing that wasn't the selling point to Lance Leopold there.
Wow.
Morning, Mark. Agreed on this one. I was going to say agreed Ferrari, but I'm not going to call another Ferrari.
With super knowledgeable agents who take the time to understand your coverage needs and help you find the savings you deserve. Get a quote today at USAA.com/insurance. USAA.
Crazy, Craig. Crazy.
Ability to receive a quote depends on ownership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. Hi, this is Adam Vance with Sound and Images. Sound and Images.
All right, Patrick, we're going to get back into more of the SEC football conversation and trying to project the future.
Okay.
You kidding me? I don't think Bill would retire. He would just be even more off the rails on the show.
He would be so obnoxious in how he brags. It would just be terrible.
I think he just wouldn't do the I mean, he would do the show, but he would just do it from a boat and pay less attention than he already does.
Right.
Yep.
He would just sit outside and swing his golf club for an hour and a half to 2 hours of the show.
Yep. Look at me. I have a watch that matches every shirt.
I would argue that's a pretty good compliment. If you're living life like you're already retired, I think you might be doing it right.
Exactly.
I've never understood the whole, hey man, I'm going to work my whole life and then so when I'm really old, I can enjoy my life.
Right.
That makes sense to me.
Well, I don't think most people do that on purpose.
All right, Chad, get your marketing strategy going, man. Start recruiting out there. Get those YouTube subscribers. You can do it.
And we are headed back in.
Yeah, that stat of the day from Will Ferrell will get stuck in your head, Travis, for sure.
Guys, we're back.
I like where we're at, both in the show and in the world right now. We're able to give you some stuff. That's because some stuff's going on, like about concerts. Even a group like world famous Genesis getting back together, coming up to Charlotte, November 20th. Tickets on sale tomorrow. Giving them away this week before you can even buy them. Halftime show will have your chance to win some Genesis tickets today. Also giving you a chance to win $25,000. It's our 25K workday payday. every hour. We've already done it once today, doing it 9 more times every hour from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Top of the hour, secret keyword gets announced. You text that keyword to 95819. You qualify to win $100 plus every winner entered into the drawing for the grand prize jackpot of $25,000. Hence the 25K workday payday. And specifically to our show, a $50 IGA gift card will be given out this Monday for Grill Bill. Go to our website, 1075thegame.com. Contest tab at the top of the page. Enter Grill Bill, throw in a couple of questions, have some fun with Bill Gunter on a Monday. Maybe put him on the hot seat there. And then you get that $50 IGA gift card. You're qualified to win a Camp Chef pellet grill worth more than $1,000. Grill Bill, sponsored by the South Carolina Pork Board, its member farmers, IGA food stores, and Camp Chef here on 1075 The Game. This morning, we've been all over the place. Started with the quickest start in the history of the early game, I believe. That may or may not have something to do with Bill not being here this morning and helping to fill in for Heath Klein today, tomorrow, and on Monday from 4 to 7. But Patrick Barrett, a big-time Washington Capitals fan, watched last night. So you didn't expect it happening like it happened last night, but you did expect something, right? But clearly the environment was brewing for something to go down. The Rangers not happy with a penalty on Tom Wilson earlier in the week. Is that correct this week? Was it last week?
Monday.
So earlier in the week, he wasn't suspended, and they were all ticked off, and they put out a snowflake statement saying, something about egregious
horrifying
violence.
act of violence. Horrifying.
What did he do? What did he do
Hit
exactly?
a guy in the head, 2 different guys in the head, with gloves on, and they were wearing helmets. And the second guy jumped on his back.
Nobody's going to argue that Tom Wilson is not the biggest offender in the NHL right now, correct? When it comes to stuff like that. Is there anybody bigger?
I mean, there's lots
He's
of
the guy.
there's lots of dirty players, but Tom Wilson is also the best hockey player of them,
Right.
and he's on a high-profile team. So
Right. So he's the guy. He's got the target on the back, no doubt. And going into last night's game, you knew something was going to happen. Patrick has explained earlier, being the hockey guy, that I am not, that only division opponents this year in the NHL, that has upped the intensity for sure. And with just 3 games left in the season, the Rangers are not making the playoffs. They got nothing to lose going into this thing. That is a recipe for mayhem, and we still have a different level than we've seen before. Like, I have seen games or periods anyway start like this before, where they drop the puck and then it's fighting, right? We've seen that, but I don't know if we've ever seen it quite like last night, where drop the puck to start the game and then it's 3 fights instantly break out. Crazy stuff on the ice.
it's an old school hockey type of situation. We haven't seen
Right.
something like that in a long time.
And to me, it's the simplicity of hockey there, the way that it takes care of itself. And James is he is not impressed with the way that you summed up Tom Wilson's issues. He punched a guy in the back of the head while he was on the ground, then ragdolled another guy that injured him for the season. Wilson
For
does
the
this-
season, there's 2 games left, and they're resting him because they're not going to make the playoffs, no matter what happens. Don't say injured him for the season. The guy he hit in the back of the head, he was wearing gloves, and the guy was wearing a helmet, and they deemed that he didn't hit him with enough force. They watched the play. Tom Wilson is a repeat offender. He's gotten suspended for things he didn't deserve to get suspended for before. The NHL didn't deem it that big of a deal. All of the snowflakes at home thought it was a big problem, and all of the former hockey players that actually watched it said this is not a huge deal. Yes, do I think he's a dirty player? I think he plays in the gray area, but everyone wants him on their team, and everyone needs to relax.
Did you guys hear what Patrick just did right there? If he's on Patrick's team, he plays in the gray area.
Every single team wants him on their roster.
Oh, sure, no doubt
Every
about that. But
single
if he plays against Patrick's team, dirtiest player ever, the guy needs to be arrested and kicked out of the league. That's why we love you, Patrick. I got no problem with it. I'm just putting it out there. Now
He occupies so much space in the brains of hockey fans. It's unbelievable. It's actually such a competitive advantage for the Capitals because they just dominated the Rangers on every level last night with their fifth and on the scoreboard. Like, tough night to be a Rangers fan. I pity you guys.
Okay, back to the SEC football conversation. And if you missed a Jimbo Fisher just talking to a Houston Touchdown Club, some comments have gotten out now in the public about how he said they're going to be like Alabama and do it better. And they're definitely going to beat Nick Saban while he's at Alabama. So I think the original question probably was, are you guys going to beat Nick Saban while he's there? Because Saban's about to turn 70 years old. Steve Spurrier, previously the only SEC head football coach at the age of 70. We all know that season didn't go well. And you didn't make it through that season. I have two questions for you, Patrick, as it pertains to you. I'm not going to get on my high horse again and tell you how dumb Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M are being for talking like this. Already done that. My question is, how long and who? How long does it continue for Nick Saban in Alabama? I need a number of years. And then who? Or I guess probably if you're going to be a word nerd, since teams aren't really a person, you say which school, which program takes over as the next SEC West power? Because we know right now the easy answer is Georgia overall. That's the school in the SEC primed to push Alabama aside and take over the power throne.
I don't know. Because Florida gave them the best game last year, and I think Dan Mullen is a better football coach than Kirby Smart. So I think even if if Georgia has a more talented team, I like Dan Mullen's chances of making more with less.
Okay, I don't disagree with you there. But I think the issue is let's separate the divisions now.
Okay.
Because that's still how we do it in the SEC, and I think that's the more interesting question. I don't think it's LSU anymore. We would have said LSU going into last season, right? But now did you see the latest news from them yesterday? TJ Finley, the guy who decimated the Gamecocks, looked like he was already one of the best quarterbacks on the planet. Now, no longer going to even play at LSU. He started the most games at quarterback for him last year, and now he's in the transfer pool.
Well, Max Johnson came in and beat Florida, so I guess he saw that and was like, I don't want to compete. Miles Brown's coming back. He'll be the starter next year, but
don't forget about the returning starting quarterback.
But he'll be gone after 1 year, so
right. But then you got a guy who already beat you out at the end of last season. To me, it makes sense. I give him credit. He went through spring ball, and then probably sees himself third on the depth chart and says, "All right, I want to play football in my career instead of just hang out." So I'm not saying LSU's not the second most talented program. I think
it's like every 4 or 5 years they'll be able to knock Bama off if things fall right, and
But so they might be the easy answer here, but I don't think you can have a bunch of confidence that Ed Orgeron is going to be able to sustain that program at a high level without breaking NCAA or just regular societal laws,
right?
And keep that thing on the rails. So if it's not LSU that's going to knock them off, are you going to tell me it's Texas A&M? Because I get it on the field last year with one loss. They might be the easy answer, but they did beat Vanderbilt 17-12. They have how many SEC division championships? How many times have they played for the SEC championship? Even with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback?
A&M?
Yeah, I think that answer is zero. That's why
I didn't think so.
So we've never seen it happen before. Are we gonna agree with Jimbo Fisher that it's gonna happen? I'm not. Is it gonna be a guy that comes to the SEC from Boise State and Brian Harsin and Auburn? Is it gonna be, like Kevin says, gonna be the lane train if he finds a little defense? I might put my money on Ole Miss to be the next SEC West representative in the SEC championship. With the quarterback coming back, with Lane Kiffin's track record of scoring points, if a little bit more defense, you're right.
I almost don't hate that answer though, because the way the free agency that we've been talking about, the transfer portal now, Matt Corral's going to have a monster year. If he goes and becomes like a first-round pick next year, which is not remotely out of the realm of possibility, that's very, very possible. If that happens, then he might be able to just start landing big-time transfer quarterbacks and just land the top quarterbacks every year. It'll be like all the quarterbacks want to go play for Lane Kiffin and Lincoln Riley. And sometimes if you have a transformational quarterback like that, that's all it takes. So I don't hate that. But there's no one in position to have the sustained success that Alabama has. I mean, A&M has the resources. LSU has the whole state of Louisiana to themselves, which means they'll always have the talent to do it, but there's just something missing from all of those programs that I guess it's just the it factor that Nick Saban brings.
Okay, so if we can't figure out who's going to be the next big dog in the SEC West after Alabama, maybe one of the reasons we can't figure it out is because of that first question. How long? How long can Nick Saban keep doing it? My answer is 5 years. I mean, after 7, come on. I get it. Somebody hit us up earlier on the live video stream, said Nick Saban looks like he's 56. Yeah, he's different. No doubt. He is different. This program's at a different level. The way that thing operates is different. And I think that's why the typical doomsdayers that would come around, and we saw it at the end of Steve Spurrier's career where the questions were constantly, all right, how much longer? How much longer are you going to go? That's going to continue. Those questions are going to be there. Nick Saban's going to hate it, and we're going to get some epic rants out of it, I'm sure. But Nick Saban's really good. His record is terrible compared to, Father Time there. Okay, we know that's the one undefeated world champion, undisputed. You don't beat Father Time. So how much longer, Patrick? What do you got? As we sit here on May 6, 2021, how much longer will Nick Saban be running the Alabama program? Because I don't think it's a discussion. As long as he's running that program, they're going to be the top dogs in the SEC. You agree?
Yeah, and especially with the way recruiting's going right now. I think he'll for sure see out this recruiting class that he's going to have coming in this year, the 2021 class, because he has a chance to win for sure multiple national championships with them. I'm just trying to see if there's like is there any other like record that he can break or anything like that? Like, what would he be looking at? 10 championships? Like, would he be content to get double digits?
Then you change it to a dozen, don't you? Doesn't that sound better?
Right.
I don't see him as that guy necessarily.
Milestone is next.
Bobby Bowden and Joe Paterno got into that battle, you feel like. And maybe they weren't doing it. Maybe it was a media thing that it was just hyped up. What about, I don't think, can Saban sniff that, the all-time wins record?
I don't think from looking at it this morning, I don't think he has a chance. He has 256 career wins.
Which is how many less than, that is 26 to 24 less than Frank Beamer? You mentioned he had 280, I think?
Yeah.
Earlier?
Bear Bryant had 323.
So maybe that's what he sticks around for? He just wants to beat Bear Bryant's total wins record? I don't know. But I don't see him being driven by that necessarily.
That would be actually, if he went 15-0 for the next 4 years, he would pretty much break it. So maybe that's it. Maybe he just wants to hit double digits and pass Bear. If he gets both of those done, he sails off into the sunset.
He's just that guy that doesn't seem like he can do that. I just don't see him being that guy to say, yeah, I see that I'm not the guy for the job anymore, and I'm going to go hang out at the lake. It's just hard to imagine. So I think it's hard to envision at this point Nick Saban not being the Alabama coach and that program not being what it is. I don't think anybody knows the number. Mm-hmm. And that's the easier question, I think, than which school is it going to be then if it's not Alabama in the SEC West. Because what they've done is ridiculous. And that's why I think the latest statements coming out of Texas A&M that Jimbo's going to not just beat Nick Saban while he's there, but they're going to be what Alabama is and be better. Come on.
If you had to place a bet, will Saban retire with a perfect record against his assistants? Or you think one can take him out at just one game? I really think he's going to finish it off and be like 30-0 or more against his former assistants.
Maybe that's what drives him, right? Just as long as his former assistants are in the SEC and he's guaranteed a game against them, like, oh yeah, I got to stick around, got to beat that guy.
The first time his assistant beats him, he just retires the next day. He just withers away and says I'm gonna have to make another Ricky Bobby reference today, but John Girard just came over to America so that Ricky Bobby could beat him. That's all he needed, to be beaten by a driver who was truly better than him. So Saban just needs to finally be defeated by one of his proteges, and once that happens, he'll be content.
Happens in the SEC championship against Kirby Smart, and he retires before the bowl game.
Yeah.
He's done. Even they make him the college football playoff. He's like, yeah, I can't do it anymore. Got to know when to fold. 803-404-6100 if you'd like to get in a final comment. Big night for the Braves. Actually, something very notable in the Columbia Fireflies season opener as well that you might have missed in their season opening loss. Give that to you when we come back. It's the early game. It's 107.5 again.
Hey, we've got a way to help you with a Zoom call for work. I know when the mute button is on.
Talking a lot about timing there as it pertains to football. Timing is not just in football. We all understand that. In life especially, very important to hit things at the right time, especially if you're going to make a big decision like your mortgage or getting a loan, maybe refinancing. Now is a great time to do that. The market is in a great spot. I know personally because recently I gave Wendy, buddy Benji Getsy down there, ran the numbers for me. I was really impressed with the numbers he shot back my way. Right now, we got the expanding family, the 3 kids, making the house seem a lot smaller than it used to be. So I'm looking at options, and Benji gave me some great options. When I gave him some general information, didn't take long at all, just filled out some stuff on the internet, and boom, get a call from Benji with some numbers and some great options there. He will do the exact same thing for you. He and his team at Buford Lending, with their 25 years experience, they are very confident that they can find you the best deal out there. All they ask is that you give them a chance. They understand you probably have some relationships with other lenders. Benji encourages you. Give those guys a call, see what they can do for you, and then just let him get in the game. 843-524-2404 is the number. Buford Lending is the spot. And I can tell you from personal experience, you're going to have a great lending experience with Benji Getsy and Buford Lending. Again, their number, 843-524-2404.
Quality, shepherdsglass.com. I-20 westbound at Alpine Road, 2 lanes are currently blocked, so that's definitely causing a slowdown over there.
Saban, didn't he just take the lead in national titles there with Bear Bryant?
I thought that's what. Yeah, he did. 14 SEC titles. Saban's got 9 SEC titles.
So maybe he's looking for that 15th SEC title. Yeah, I don't think he's that guy. He's too much talking about the process and the whole thing to come back with, oh yeah, and I got to have that number.
Bear Bryant just coached for so freaking long.
Yeah, and I know that's the story, Damon, or that's like the easy thought process. I just don't see it happening, man. I did early on in Dabo's career, but since Clemson has become what they become, why would you leave?
No.
You would never overachieve at Alabama, and you've created your own legacy where you are. Why? What's the attraction? It ain't there anymore. It used to be before Clemson became what they are, but I don't think it's there anymore. Also, yeah, I know it's his alma mater and you do it at 2 different schools, but Dabo knows what Bobby Bowden waited to say publicly after he retired, that the path to the national championship is much easier where he's at than it would be at Alabama.
Yeah.
Good point, Craig. And Bear Bryant could have 200 players back in the day. I just don't see it. I just think it's kind of the lazy narrative that national writers have stuck with all this time, or it's the easy kind of clickbait thing to certainly get Clemson fans nervous, but I don't think they have anything to be nervous about at this point. And I get it if you're a Carolina fan, that's not what you want to hear.
I don't know why, but 1936 and 1983 feel longer than 1993 to 1994. They've coached for Saban and Bear have coached for almost the same amount of time, but Bears just feels so much longer. I don't know why.
Oh, I forgot about
1936 though is just such a drop. From the 30s to the 80s, it just seems like an insane thing. You died at 69 though.
We're gonna be a little tighter on time, so I hate that.
Yeah, my bad here.
Yeah, I actually think I have this movie on DVD, Travis, but I've never watched it. I don't have it here. It's at my other house in Maryland, but we definitely have that DVD. I'll watch it.
All right, guys, rip.
Columbia Fireflies lose their season opener 8-1 at Augusta last night, but it was Cruz Noriega coming out of the bullpen, an immaculate inning last night. 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts. Impressive stuff. The highlight of the season opener for the Columbia Fireflies back at home on Tuesday for the season opener at home. This Sunday is where it's at for NASCAR fans, and Darlington Raceway is the spot. Darlington Raceway President Kerry
It's all about that. Awfully busy man these days. Apologize for not getting you more time, but I'm sure you're awfully busy right now, Kerry, huh?
We got plenty to say grace over. That's okay. But, it's great to be on today. And, yeah, it's that time. Our time is here.
All right. Are you going?
It's like going in.
The question
Go
is,
ahead.
Kerry, are you going to throw in a pick? I know you've done it in years past. I've been impressed. Some years you've abstained. Some years you've gone right in there and made a pick. How you feeling today?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good. I tell you, I got that lead going in the pool. I kind of like that. I kind of like and see where some of these other folks are I'm about ready to lap the field here.
Yeah.
And so, but I feel good about my pick this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and go on out there with a pick. So you just let me know when it's my turn.
It's your turn right now, Kerry. Yeah, we don't have Bill Gunter mucking up the works here in this segment. You can get right to it and continue to pace the field.
Yeah, obviously, we hope everybody has a great weekend racing at Darlington. And the guy who I think is going to wind up winning on Sunday hasn't won yet this year. He's won at Darlington before, and that's the number 11 Toyota, Denny Hamlin.
Strong
That
pick
was Bill's
there.
first place pick.
Excellent, even better. Jen, who you going with?
I think somebody who has not won this season, who has also won at Darlington, I think Kevin Harvick takes it this week.
All right, Patrick, who's Bill going to take?
Second place in the standings. He's only got 1 top 5 in his last 4 starts, but he's led 77 laps in that time. Martin Truex Jr.
Martin Truex Jr.
Nice.
Appreciate it.
Gonna
Kerry,
get the
we
win.
heard the phone ringing in the background. I know you're a busy man. We appreciate your time, and good luck with the weekend, sir.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.
We'll get the full breakdown from Kerry after. Darlington's weekend next week. Thanks for listening to the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
KTFM, Eastover, Columbia. This is 105 The Game.
All right, guys. Everybody in the comment section, thanks for your help today. Damon, Travis, Hope, Craig, the most recent. Appreciate you guys hopping in, man. That's some good one today. Looks like Steven's your hockey guy.
Yeah, Duck Emmerich. Greatest of all time. Greatest voice in broadcasting history.
No doubt. Oh, yeah, I would imagine when we did cross paths, I was out the previous May. Cinco de Mayo, 2000, by the way. So my 21-year graduation anniversary yesterday. I'm old. Thanks, DC. Anthony, nice work, sir. So, Patrick, you will be with Bill Friday and Monday. Kerry Rich on here the next couple of days. I think we got him figured out. His first concern was, hey, I don't know if I can do the show. I don't have Facebook. I was like, it's all right. You don't need Facebook to hop on the video stream. I think we figured it out. So I think we will have Kerry on the video stream as well, and we'll be ready to go a little differently the next couple of days. But good news for you guys. I think Bill's going to go video stream today, rolling pretty much solo, but then they'll have the video stream in the afternoon as well for 4 to 7. So you guys
will be on there.
Have more distractions in your life, which is what you need.
Yeah. And then you can tell Heath how much you enjoyed having a video stream to watch from 4 to 7, and that you just want to see the camera right in his mug for 3 hours a day.
Peer pressure. Love it. All right, guys. We'll talk to you in the morning. Bill will be up at 4 o'clock today.